What's up, guys? Messenger of the Cross, Pulse Point Media. Let's just get right into it.
All it takes for evil to prosper is for good people to do nothing. And that is exactly what's happening today. As people who are crying out to family members and friends, to local law enforcement and the FBI, to their government, their military, to the private corporations who are involved in this for help, are being met with silence, or even worse, ridicule. They're being accused of being crazy. They're being accused of being paranoid and schizophrenic. And as I will detail, mental health organizations are complicit in this, rendering false psychological diagnoses.
Like I said, guys, it's a big system of control. It's all together. It's all joined as one. They are not separate. They are not divided. They are following an agenda and a program. And the program seems to be for all of us that we just suddenly got mental illness and we, don't see clearly, right? Because that's really the cry of narcissistic abusers, all the time to get away with their abuse is that we're helping you. This is love to you, and we're just abusing you because we want to keep things safe. And, we have nominated ourselves as the heroes and saviors. So this is institutionalized persecution of sections of society that they curtail and customize the abuse after their surveillance of the targeted individual. And then they operate in very painful, damaging ways because much time is spent watching you, surveilling you, knowing what you like, knowing what you don't like, knowing your preferences. And this is what I mean about why the surveillance is such a problem is because they are retroactively targeting people and hurting people. Okay. And you can see on the screen 1984, because Brian Kaufman, which I don't know what you think of him. I don't know him that well. I don't know much about him. I just know he's a whistleblower. And so I cover different topics and different things people say, if it's accurate, if it's right, and try to, just we're gleaning here. We're taking bits and pieces in this mess and we're putting it together and moving forward with, actionable knowledge in which we can function under this police state and under this 1984 George Orwell, where freedom is slavery. Okay. And that's what people have come to kind of believe, really, is that freedom is slavery, war is peace, your rights are suspicious because we're the heroes and the experts and the saviors. We can't be wrong. And we are here to keep you safe and save lives.
To completely cover up what is in fact a social engineering program and a covert research and development program for some of the most sophisticated and advanced technology that the world has ever seen.
This disturbing message is for the several million Americans and for anyone else who cares deeply about the future of their country and the planet Earth. The U.S. is in grave danger. Strangely, the peril is not from foreign enemies, but from enemies within. The United States and much of the Western world is ultimately controlled by an unelected, unaccountable cabal.
And guys, remember that, this is worldwide, and this is a system of control that's overlaid over every country. And there's nowhere to run, there's nowhere to hide. It's time to take our heads out of the sand because we have to face what's really going on here. And as you notice, Paul, who's speaking right now, the former Canadian defense minister, says that with America, in respect to America, it's not China. It's not these other countries that are against us. Okay, that's just part of the legitimizing of the false and the misdirection. Okay, it's way deeper than that. And they are one, they are united as one. The world government is here. And all the nations together have agreed together to prosecute this silent war against the citizens with these technologies and all the things that they can do to torture and modify behavior and get conformity. through that torture, through that non-touch torture, by the way, and real torture. But here I want you to understand, remember this, what he's saying. It's not a faraway, shadowy enemy that is far off. And we just have to believe what we're being told about all these so-called enemies in a far-off land fighting a war far away. We only hear the reports. We don't know what's true or what's not true. But how true it is when we hear somebody tell the truth and talk about how if America were to fall, it would fall from within. And the enemy is within. And it's not the Chinese government that's torturing you every day and using directed energy weapons on you and getting your family to participate in the abuse and doing all these things to go along with what they're doing. And so it's within. And it's not some faraway thing that we have to be worried about. We have to be focused, understanding what our own government has decided to do to the citizens of the United States.
Its apex is the banking and financial cartel, followed by the oil cartel, the CEOs of the largest and most powerful transnational corporations, major intelligence agencies, including the CIA, the FBI, and the NSA, and a major slice of the U.S. military.
You hear that, guys? A major slice of the U.S. military. Remember the JIFCO? Remember the Joint Intermediate Force Capabilities Office? We got a guy literally saying that their continual presence is needed and needed to be able to scale up in an instant to threats. And so they need to operate somewhere below the level of armed conflict, but still have a presence on the streets of the United States. What do you think that means? And then using and engaging the public with intermediate force capabilities. What do you think that means? What do you think intermediate force means?
Their collective power and influence is incalculable. And it is their plan for the U.S. and the rest of us that is so alarming.
Automated computer, supercomputer software programming will manipulate the emotions and the behavior and the thoughts of everybody in the United States of America.
It's horrible. It's horrifying. And it is a crime against humanity.
And remember, I was talking about the impulse injections and the visual cortex is attacked, the brainwave patterns, the signature of each organ has been mapped. The electrical, bioelectrical field has been mapped, okay, on all of us. And it's down to the cellular level. It's not just that they're using these frequencies that most of us have never heard about, right? But they are going as deep as the molecular level in terms of their domination of you.
This is something that needs to be tackled by lawyers and civil rights advocates immediately. We need laws right fucking now to stop this thing because it is out of control and it is only getting worse.
I agree with him, but it's not going to stop. And that's what we got to get our heads around, wrap our minds around it. These people don't feel guilty or bad or wrong. And believe me, they've been convinced they're heroes. They're the experts. They're the saviors. They're the ones that could never make a mistake because they've analyzed you and decided that you're not essential. Okay?
System which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations.
And this is what JFK is talking about, the military-industrial complex, but more than that, just this monolithic conspiracy worldwide. Yet the CIA calls those that are awake to this conspiracy theorists as they gaslight everybody. But we have one of our own presidents saying that there is this conspiracy and that it's guerrillas by night, right? Like, infiltration, subversion, undermining, asymmetrical style of guerrilla warfare on the streets of the United States with the JIFCO operating, the Marines operating in regular clothes, using intermediate force. So they've already decided, guys, to engage. Do you understand? They've already decided to engage the American people with these tactics of abuse and control.
I know for a fact, having been an insider and actually been a part of this program and seen it operate on a day-to-day basis, I am aware that there are now entire cities in America that are nothing more but a massive social engineering experiment.
For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means.
Yeah, and he said ruthless. So it's not just a conspiracy, it's a ruthless conspiracy. And you targeted individuals know what I'm talking about.
For expanding its sphere of influence on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day.
Yeah, the guerrillas by night are just, the government taking a stance against citizens and calling and labeling citizens as terrorists and extremists and domestic threats according to their, redefining of what that is. And then just they end up suspending your rights and calling you a threat and targeting you. And that's what they do in America.
What these people have done is turned this technology into a video game. And that is exactly how they approach it. They approach it as though they are playing a cross between Sid Meier's Civilization on their computer and Sims, where they are controlling all of civilization and also controlling people on the individual level.
This is why our relationships break down, guys. It's constant interference, constant impulse injections, constant visual cortex stimulation, constant, attacks to the brain and to the body. And usually torture is how they do it to get you to go along with or, think that you're having the bright idea yourself, even when you're not. It's just synthetic in a broadcast over all of us.
The overall effect of this technology is one that can control the mood, the attitudes, the thoughts, the feelings, the emotions, and thus the motivations and then the actions of the target. All day, every day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. It is a highly sophisticated technology. It is one that produces literal and total and complete mind control over the targeted individual. And it is in the hands right now of people that are using it for nefarious purposes, extremely evil and destructive purposes against individuals like myself. I am now a target of this technology because I have decided to speak out about it.
Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed.
I was told not to reveal certain things, or they would kick my ass, kill me, and dump me in a lake.
Minus the non-disclosure agreements that they force people to sign.
This is why, before going public, I reported all of this to the FBI 4 times.
Yeah, that might not be a good idea since they are managing and participating in a lot of this under national security.
I reported all of this to local and state police. I reported all of
Big mistake.
this to everyone and anyone I could, trying to blow the whistle on my company, on Amazon, and on the federal government of the United States of America. Unfortunately, what I was told was, not that I'm crazy and we have no idea what you're talking about. I was told by the Federal Bureau of Investigations and by the Tempe Police Department that what you are describing is a federal program. We know exactly what it is, and as a result, there is absolutely nothing we can do about it. It's obvious that in this day and age, an American citizen cannot come forward to blow the whistle on a highly illegal, unconstitutional program that is being used to torture the American people each and every day.
And it's not just one program. Remember, this is, like I said, customized abuse to the target. Okay, so not all of us are going through the exact same thing, but the tactics are very similar with a lot of us. The gaslighting, the color sensitizing, the street theater, the scripted acts of hostility in front of you to drag you in and drag you under and involve you and set you up. And it's on and on.
I'm sorry, but that is unacceptable. It is your job to protect the American people. It is your job to investigate high crimes and felonies that have.
By the way, that's not necessarily true. I mean, to look to the government to save you is still part of the problem. Going to the FBI, going to the local sheriff's office and telling them about your targeting is probably not the best idea because it's institutionalized denial. And they've been trained that anybody that brings up these things, like I'm being followed all over the place, will end up having a wellness check and being called crazy or mentally ill for daring to even think that people can coordinate and organize and triangulate and, do group abuse, God forbid. I mean, that's just an impossibility, right?
Have been committed by the people that have been entrusted with the safekeeping of this country, our Constitution, and the American people.
We don't have a constitution when it's emergency rule. That's the problem. Crisis management, crisis, crisis, crisis. All fake, all not real, just whether real or not real, the crisis is there. And the same program and the same pattern is there. We're here to keep you safe. We're here to save lives. Give up all your rights.
Unfortunately, what's happening in America today is all of the people who have been charged with our protection have fallen asleep at the wheel. They have failed to live up to their oath. And either through complicity or complacency, they are either making or allowing this nightmare to occur on American soil.
Yeah, the people doing this like to assume that they're patriotic or have some sort of morals. We got to get past that because that's just not, it's kind of idealistic thinking. These people are wicked. They have no remorse, no sympathy, no empathy, and are psychopathic as they enjoy the damage, destruction, and pain and get off on it. That's who we're talking about.
This social engineering program experiments on the homeless population and the general population of Seattle, utilizing what most people know as voice-to-skull technology. However, this technology is infinitely more advanced than most people know. It can be used to completely control the thoughts and emotions of the target, and thus it can be used to control the target's actions. This program is illegal, unconstitutional.
Well, not for all of us. And that's why they get so mad, I think, at some of us, because we live in a spiritual way and can detect the thoughts that aren't ours.
And absolutely terrifying.
Because this technology could potentially be being used against tens to hundreds of millions of Americans every day. It can literally stop your own thoughts from happening and replace them with other thoughts by sending thoughts to your head. And it's so sophisticated that you cannot tell where these thoughts are coming from. There's no way to discern that they're coming from somewhere other than your own mind. So,
I mean, I really believe those of us that have been born again with the Holy Spirit have the faculties to detect thoughts that are not coming from the Lord.
you can imagine how bad this would be for people that don't even realize this technology exists. And they're having these thoughts, which they think are spontaneous. And that's exactly what it can be used for. It can be used to sway people in terms of their opinion, to make them go along with a certain agenda. It can be used to turn groups of people or individuals against each other. But when you consider that use of it and the fact that it is used for emotion and thought and behavior modification, then we could potentially be looking at many, many millions of people across the country that are under the influence of the technology today, right now.
Many of the homeless test subjects of this program start out as highly educated, successful people. Their lives are systematically destroyed by this program using voice-to-skull technology, organized stalking, career sabotage, and an intense character assassination effort which isolates them from society, leaves them unemployed, and turns family and friends against them.
100%. Couldn't have put it better.
It is a highly illegal program. It is being abused by people who have no regard for the welfare of those people who are being experimented upon. They're evil in a way that I cannot understand, and I do not want to understand. It was my differences of opinion with them, once I became aware of the full extent of this program, that caused me to object, to confront them about it, to eventually quit my job over it. And as a result, I became a target of this program myself. They beam into my head now on a daily basis, "You're the lab rat now, motherfucker. Don't you ever fucking cross us. And don't you dare think about speaking out about this, or we'll fucking kill you."
Yeah, they do it to all of us, and the gesturing and the surrounding us, and the death threats and the holding like a fake gun up to their heads and pointing at you, and pulling the trigger and looking at you, and it's all done by these intelligence services to basically intimidate and silence and bring that chilling effect, because we realize as citizens that there are no laws being followed but the law of whatever these people decide they want to do to us. I mean, and is that okay? We have no checks and balances. We have no way to stop these people from torturing us every day in our own houses. And that's what they're doing. And it's not far from the truth that we have suffered greatly because of the damage and the torture that they've been doing to our bodies and our minds. And we just want to expose the truth about this. And we want other people to wake up too, because it is a tall order for us who can see. And for some reason, the technology doesn't work totally on us like the way that they want it to. Okay, it might work, but not like they want it to. Okay, and we're just the anomaly. Okay, and that is the frustration that they have with us, is that we have something beyond their sophisticated control, and we are achieving that daily, and all they try to do is cut us off from that deliverance and victory over and around them. We're bypassing the heat, in other words, through Jesus, is what I'm trying to say.
If you are a targeted individual out there, I know how difficult your life is, because I'm one too. And I want to personally apologize for the role that I played in this program as an employee of SIS, Security Industry Specialists in Seattle, Washington. What I did and what my company did is still doing, what the Amazon Corporation is doing, and what everybody I'm about to name in this podcast is doing, is unacceptable, it is illegal, and it must be stopped immediately. If you are undergoing torture every single day and every single night, if you are miserable because of what these people are doing to you with voice-to-skull technology, emotion manipulation technology, I want you to know that you're not alone. There are millions of Americans across this country that are crying out for help from their neighbors, from their family, from their friends, from their co-workers, and they are met with a wall of silence and confusion, as the general public is simply not educated enough on this topic to be able to.
It's not that they're not educated enough, they're willfully ignorant and participate in the abuse. And that is the main thing that I've found out.
Offer any real help. Also, the people who are running this program are the most powerful people in this country, and therefore anyone like myself who tries to take action against them is in for the fight of their life. Within this research and development context, there's an application of voice-to-skull technology that is known as hive mind. It is currently many, many hundreds of years more advanced than what people are generally aware of. And to the targeted individual who is isolated, you can understand what a nightmare this is, as the complementary program of organized stalking isolates them from everybody else in their community, and they have nowhere to turn for help. It is for the victims that I am doing this. It is for the people that are alone and that are scared and that are being tortured by their government every single day. I knew that once I decided to go public, the most powerful people in this country were going to be pissed off at me. And they are. Since uploading my first podcast, I have been harassed nonstop there has been a tenfold increase in the nastiness of the attitude that I'm dealing with from the people who are assigned to gang stalk me.
Yeah, notice the guy in the video is wearing a red shirt. How convenient. Well, these are their gang colors, by the way. So you'll see a lot of red and white, maybe, like me. That's the color they use to anchor me, to sensitize me to the specific abusers in my environment. And they get to play this game right out in plain sight because nobody else has been sensitized to that particular thing. And this is how they get your attention and engage you.
They have also threatened my life. It's obvious that I have pissed off the wrong people. What these people have done is turned this technology into a video game.
But I thought it was just for terrorists and keeping people safe and saving lives.
That is exactly how they approach it. They approach it as though they are playing a cross between Sid Meier's Civilization on their computer and Sims, where they are controlling all of civilization and also controlling people on the individual level. The overall effect of this technology is one that can control the mood, the attitudes, the thoughts, the feelings, the emotions, and thus the motivations, and then the actions of the target.
Yeah, and that's why we say good luck having a relationship. And some of the people that were supposed to love us the most are under total mind control and influenced by this like a weapon against us.
All day, every day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. It is a highly sophisticated technology. It is one that produces literal and total and complete mind control over the targeted individual.
Okay, so this just kind of repeats and goes on, but I just wanted to play Brian Kaufman really quick, just talking about as a whistleblower from the CIS company that he worked for in Seattle, because I saw firsthand the level of these broadcast systems and what they're doing to the people in Seattle, just experimenting on whole sections of the city. I mean, they've got the city quartered off with different frequency zones. And basically, you go to one quarter and it's like, people are just enraged and angry and hostile. And you go down a couple blocks and it's like the most utopian, peaceful, like, birds chirping everywhere. And like just, one of the most relaxing, like great feelings you've ever had. I mean, and you can see the distinction in the mind control happening and how people are disassociative and disconnected and something else hijacks them and takes over. And that's just the bottom line. And guys, sorry, I just had to get up because, of course, when I'm doing these videos, not only do the commercials interrupt me again and again, like, which is typical, but I'm also getting knocks on the door of different contractors that they like to send over to interrupt me all day. And they do this all day. My HOA gets involved and thinks it's cute and funny to send contractors over to me that I don't want, that I don't need. There's no warning. It's just always to interrupt. So this is what I mean about the types of tactics that are used because it can be denied. And if I start complaining about it, it's kind of looking like, hey, why are you complaining about something that's common and ordinary, right? But it's that common and ordinary thing that they use. And it's the frequency and the rate by which they do that common and ordinary thing. And it doesn't even have to be abuse per se. It's just the frequency and the rate that the interruption happens, that the intercept that's done deliberately is done against you to interrupt your activity, to interrupt your pursuits, to interrupt and modify behavior. And it's why they use the torture so much, is because that gets your attention. And that's why they do it. They justify it and electrocute your organs in your own house and then just justify it and say national security, you're a threat. We're here to keep you safe and save lives. And you have to be eliminated in this diabolical, secret, hidden, abusive way. And that is what's being done to all of us, whether you think so or not, or know or not. And I'm risking a lot by just saying it. You know what I mean? You guys know what I mean, who are real targets and whistleblowers and people that know the truth and have some grasp on what's really going on here. and realize that this warfare is so deep that it's even the birds are chirping at night. You understand? And all this abnormal normal because they're interfering with the ether, they're interfering with the electromagnetic spectrum, and they have weaponized it against us. And it's like magic to us because we don't understand the level of uh, power that can be demonstrated with gaining control of frequencies. And you know, the resonant frequency of your body, of your DNA, of your cells, it's down to the molecular level. We are in trouble.
So I don't believe that these birds that are out at night are actual birds. They are watching. They're watching.
Yeah, and you know, your neighbors that, you know, you move in, you never see them take out the garbage, you never see them go grocery shopping or bring food in ever. Um, you know, it's like we start questioning reality in such a deeper way and suspend belief in order to question deeper because we realize everything we've been told and everything we've been taught is not true. And so we have to have humility. That's the hardest part to gain real wisdom. It involves you incorporating the good and the bad, the dark and the light, and being able to process it properly with the proper interpretation of what's going on. And with so much deception and so much misrepresentation, it's like we've said before that these people, it's like they're wearing a mask and that mask slips and we see the truth behind the physical. And we see the power that's flowing through these people and are able to detect when some other life form is in them. I don't know how to describe it, but that's the best way because they're hijacked. And, you know, they do force speech and hit the auditory center of the brain with these frequencies and, you know, get your family and loved ones to start speaking madness to you, you know. And then they, you know, come to their senses and realize, you know, why did you just say that and do that? I don't know. You know, they don't even become conscious with such flagrant abusive behavior and activity. And they don't want to hold themselves accountable because they think they're better than you. They think they don't have to answer for the things that they've done, but you reap what you sow, right? The measure that you use, it'll be measured back to you. A good measure pressed down, shaken together, and running over. Men will repay it into your lap. And these people seem to not know that. And yet they're ruling the world, but they don't know that simple principle. And, you know, they do it in plain sight. They declare what they're going to do to us out in the open. And it mystifies people so much and numbs people so much with the type of propaganda that people are just like the frog in the pot, like I said. You're being burned and you know you're being cooked, but you don't know how hot it's going to get in the near future. You're going to want to jump out of the hot pot as the temperature keeps increasing. But just remember that if you throw a frog in a pot of boiling water, the frog will jump out right away. And it's the same principle that they're doing to us. It's 2 steps forward, 2 steps back. Merry-go-round dance of survival and getting you in a war, in a battle where all your resources, time, energy, and money go to surviving what they're doing to you. And that is what we as targeted individuals have complained about for like 25 years now. Following, blacklisting, slandering, smearing, doing crimes in our name, and then trying to bring attention to it. I mean, you couldn't get more desperate, is what I'm trying to say. But the birds chirping at night is very abnormal. And just like many other things that I could talk about in this altered universe and reality that I find myself in, where basically all my memories don't match, you know, the current reality of what we're seeing as our history, what we're seeing as the facts of life, and the things that we thought we knew. And it is because nothing is as it appears to be. That's the number one thing I want to say today is that nothing is as it appears to be. And if you've got the spiritual sight and vision, you will start to realize just the people around you are wearing masks. And those masks are the masks of humanity, the masks of being human. And it really is odd when we see the lack of human behavior associated with the people that are targeting us as our neighbors and the people around us that infiltrate and begin to start behaving this way, the way that I've been describing with us. And yet they never get groceries, never take out the garbage. And you see them every day. They come and go with you every day at the same time. No matter what time of the day you come and go, you open your door, they open the door. You go down to get the mail, they go down to get the mail. You go to your car, they go to their car. You go to the mailbox, there they are. You go to the garbage, there they are. You go wash your car, there they are. And all plausible deniability to exist in that space with you and continue to surveil and monitor you and harass you, but always have something that they can fall back on when they're doing it. Like, oh man, I'm just texting on my phone, man. I'm just trying to get away and get some peace. And that's why I keep showing up every private place you go. You know what I'm saying, guys?
So, I mean, let me know if you guys, have witnessed this or do an observation on your own and tell me what you come up with. But
mind control and synthetic realities being created as we speak, a merger of biology and technology.
But I don't think that these birds that are chirping at night are birds.
One tiny flaw ruins most.
All right, guys, we're getting through this horrible video that has like hundreds of commercials, which I don't like, and that's why I don't do that on my channel.
Lived in Upper Peninsula of Michigan my whole life. We've dealt with the smell of smoke from.
I mean, really, guys, who likes commercials? I mean, doesn't it annoy you and frustrate you when like you're going to watch a video about the truth, and yet the person has, monetized to such a degree that like every 2 minutes there's like a commercial interrupting what you're trying. I mean, it's just, if you really are a lover of the truth, why put an obstacle in the way of your listeners like that?
The wildfires in Canada, and never before have I seen this. You can smell the smoke in the air, but if you look on the hood of my truck, there's ashes falling from the sky.
It's probably not ashes. It's more like biological material and other chemicals and weather modification chemicals and God knows what else. But, it's no big deal. Just a little bit of chemical compound on your car in the morning when you wake up. I'm sure that's good for your lungs.
All my firefighting brothers and sisters up in Canada right now dealing with the hell that you're going through.
Again, this guy, I'm just going to comment on this because this is the psychology we have to break. The firefighters in Canada are not your heroes. They're not your saviors. Just because they're risking their lives on this job that they chose to do, it doesn't mean that they're all heroes and saviors and that we're supposed to just bow and worship and get out of the way. Okay? Because they're the so-called experts. And it doesn't matter what it is, if it's the emergency medical service, if it's the police department, if it's the military. Okay? The worship of authority needs to stop. The bootlicking needs to stop. It is cowardly. It is wrong. And especially because you are an enabler then of the abusers that we're trying to wake people up to. And you don't want to be an enabler and legitimize the very people that are involved in so much of the control and the abuse, and openly telling you that they are the ones there to keep you safe and save lives. Start looking at what that means. Start looking at the content of what I'm saying. What do they do when they seek to save your life and keep you safe? What does that mean? Are you just going to take it at surface level while these crises keep happening time and again? Do we live in a world now where it's only a crisis, and before that crisis ends, we're on to the next one? Before we can even get closure from the last one or the one before or the one before, where they move us on from one crisis to the next? Do you understand this is all being done deliberately, and you should be as a human being, as a person, responsible because this is your world. And you are on this planet with these psychopaths. And they just feel like they can dominate and take control of all of God's creation. But I think they're making a mistake. I think their arrogance and hubris is a weakness and it is a blindness. And we actually have quite the advantage with the spiritual gifts that seem to be remedies for this level of spiritual warfare. God prepared us for it and set us up to receive at the proper time gifts that were supernatural in order to declare the truth, carry out his will and his ministry, what he wants, do what he wants, surrender to what he wants, and get occupied with what he wants. And what he wants is to save people from this horrible pit of the nations forsaking God, and literally the nations that forget God shall be turned into hell. And that is what happens when a society accepts such levels of immorality. Because when you've got an immoral person, you've got someone that's a yes man, somebody that goes along to get along and is a coward and fake and a con artist and just pretending. And you don't want those kind of people around you. You don't want people like Ralph from The Sound of Music. Remember, he betrayed his family and blew the whistle. You remember that movie with Ralph, who became a Nazi soldier and basically caught his family trying to escape from the military. And what did Ralph, dear Ralph, do? Well, instead of protecting his father and his mother and brothers and sisters, I guess, instead of protecting them, he blows a whistle and says, and screams at the top of his lungs about, detecting his family who's hiding from the Nazi party. So we get this narrative and storyline that really is significant because it's exactly what we're dealing with. We're dealing with a bunch of Ralphs running around thinking they have the advantage because they buried their head in the sand and agreed to such tyranny and horror. And what they don't realize is that it comes back around to you with the measure that you use. You can't escape it unless you repent and turn to God. There is no other way to get out of the dynamic of this kind of level of pressure and abuse and torture and misery. It only is God that has kept me alive, is all I'm saying. And you might not like me saying that, but like the fact is I got to give credit where credit's due, and I just know that there is this mega spiritual war happening in America. And it's more than just spiritual. It is every area of life. And we need to start paying attention. And if these food prices and gas prices and all these other things, as they ratchet up the control, and it's like a man coming and putting his hands around your neck and then slowly squeezing until you can't breathe. And that is what they're doing right now, currently with the inflation. It is warfare against you. And the sooner you understand that and realize the very ones creating the problem are also posing in this duality and being a hero and a savior and an expert, so-called. And those so-called experts hide behind that, right? So this is what we deal with. This is what we go through. And they are poisoning the air. They are poisoning the food. They're breaking everything down for you to become totally dependent on what they are wanting for our future.
I pray that God puts a hedge of protection around each and every one of you. Keep one foot in the black. Love you guys.
And this is a tough situation. That's why a lot of people just don't come outside no more. Because when you come outside, everything is a problem. No matter what you do, no matter where you go, it's always a problem.
Again, that's by design. That is warfare. That is a war of attrition. And it is the government being interested in modifying your behavior. And they have declared that. And they use intermediate force capabilities, which are less than lethal, but under the level of armed conflict, but still keeping up with engaging you. Do you understand? And there are tactics that are used. And one of those tactics is to create around the target constant hostility to make you want to stay home and never leave your house. And then when they get you in your house, that's when they turn up the energy weapons and fry your skin and fry your organs like they did to me.
When you go grocery shopping, when you go to the gas station, it's always somebody trying to bother you. And it's just
Okay, and so this guy's recognizing but not totally coming to the understanding of how systematic and controlled and organized it is. But he's recognizing that there are these people in our society and they're trolls and they gaslight and they psychologically abuse and they seek to engage you. And when you try to get away from them, they collapse that escape so that you can't de-escalate it. Then they force themselves on you. This is warfare.
just seem to not sit right with people because at the end of the day, it's like, we never asked for this. We never asked for this economy. Everything is given to us by default. When would things change? And that's what I mean by something's in the air. Something's off.
And really, you can't have a real change unless you get rid of the Federal Reserve, who prints our money, who devalued our currency, and who has created this financial stress on all of us. And until that happens, and we like maybe learn to print our own money as a country, which is many people before have been killed for saying that even. So, but this is, why I believe a lot of the time that they're in the Middle East, because a lot of these countries are not submitted to an international bank and they want total control. And, this is what goes on. And so the United States has become radicalized under the emergency and they are engaging Americans and they're using tactics that they use in warfare on innocent citizens. And these are the hostile ones that he's talking about, the ones that are always trying to get a bad reaction, always pushing and pushing and pushing to get you to break down. And that's by design. It's not an accident and it's not just, oh, we're just having a bad day here and people are just upset. It is coordinated, organized, systematic, and follows a pattern that repeats itself only and again. You'd think that life was only about this because of the level of saturation with these perps that surround us as targeted individuals. And if you're speaking the truth, and if you're online especially, they will target you, and you do it by the you know, skin of your teeth. Basically, you barely make it through because of the things that they're doing to you, and starving you has always, starving people is what a great remedy that communism uses. Okay. And I say communism because that's kind of what this is. It's about getting rid of the middle class, getting rid of your ability to be autonomous, independent, and take care of yourself and support yourself. And that's what they're doing to us. And it's all because that's what communism is. The state is God. They get to decide what you put in your body, where you go, what you do, who you associate with. So just get this in your head. Free association has ended with this technology. Okay. Nobody's freely associating with each other in a natural way, but under these synthetic impulses and mind control, people are, attracted to one another that usually, normally, or typically wouldn't be. It's a complete perversity, and they play matchmaker. They do all these things that are so immoral, and it's like a game to these fools that are controlling and managing these systems of technology that they're abusing us with. And they know that there's so much plausible deniability, so they run with the abuse because nobody's going to believe it. So I just wanted to say that, and this guy makes some good points, but just to illustrate the fact that that hostility that he's talking about, it's not normal and it's not just spiritual. There is a coordinated, organized, systematic plan of undermining and sabotage. And these tactics are used in warfare to neutralize people of influence.
Everything is just shifting and it's happening so rapidly. Time is going by so fast. Nature is not responding like how they used to.
Yeah, right. But like, things are not happening naturally. That's a good point. Like, nothing that we're experiencing is natural and normal. I mean, the types of control and mind control that I've seen. It is why I talk about it every day, because it's that bad. It is game over for us. And you don't want to be a puppet in a video game controlled by somebody else, because that's what you're becoming. If you let these people get away with doing what they've done in terms of not speaking the truth and being silent, because all we have is our voice. And they even want to take that away. They even try to take that away from us by many means, hitting our necks with microwave pulse energy, torturing our bodies, making us roll around in bed for a year, torturing us and the sensitive areas of our bodies with electromagnetic weapons. And who do you complain to? Who do you turn to? There's nobody to turn to but God himself.
These wildfires from Canada is just driving everybody crazy in the major cities. And it's like, you can't have fun no more. Everything comes with a price. People losing interest in everything. And it's not just some coincidence.
It's because the mind control is complete and total, and it's you're starting to see that loss of interest is associated with dislocating a person from themselves through this mind control of crisis management and MK Ultra style torture. It's not MK Ultra, but it's much more sophisticated than that. That's like popcorn and peanuts, like literally. That's like ancient. We are way farther along with the abilities that they have to be able to torture us wherever we are in the world. And it is a living nightmare and a prison that they've turned the world into. Okay. And you don't see the walls because they're invisible. You understand? This is an electromagnetic prison camp that we've all been in that we're waking up to. Do you realize how serious that half your life you made all these decisions, you didn't know what was influencing you, and you look back and you realize, wow, I was under heavy mind control, being influenced and prompted to do certain things, to say certain things, to be a certain way. And until we go deeper and discover our real identity in Christ, it's so easy for the enemy to manipulate and infiltrate and use family and use friends, use our past, use our history, use our mistakes. There is no relenting with this type of warfare. And so, because it doesn't quit, that there has to be an approval process going on. There has to be an authority backing it up in order for these people to have an above the law status and do whatever they want to us. And then when you complain about it, you're mad, you're crazy, and they all agree together.
I think this was all by design. And a lot of people believe it's all by design because make it make sense. And then it's like your job, it's not even what you need to get by to survive anymore. You used to be able to work one job just to survive. Now you got to work 3 and 4 and 5. You never get a raise. And then your supervisor always calling for these meetings to tell you about what you didn't do instead of talk about the things that you did do.
I mean, just think about what he's saying. This is what most people have dealt with their whole lives. And it really is this infantilizing, because we never get past elementary school and how we were treated then. Then we just go right into an employer who has, loved to welcome us because we've been so conditioned that this is what normal life is subservient obedience, building somebody else's dreams and getting nothing in return for your time, energy, and your skills and ability. And you're spending your real life there every day. And life goes by. And, I remember my dad used to always talk about retirement. But it's like, really, even if you're healthy, you only get like 6 years of retirement, really. So you spend your whole life working, and most people don't even get to enjoy it because the medical problems and everything else come in to steal the money away. Do you understand? So it is a scam on every level. And we've been told nothing but lies. And so, yes, they're making warfare against us by these many means, whether it's the food, the prices, whether it's the air quality, whether it's the medical system. It doesn't matter, as they hit us from all directions and tag team over the civilians and then pose as our saviors and our heroes and the experts that are going to save us. Psychopaths always create the problem and then pose as the savior to the very problems that they create.
And it's just crazy. And people are just calling off work because they don't want to be bothered no more. And I don't blame them. Now it's starting to seem like people are happy to get fired. They feel like it was a relief in their life. That's why things are backwards now. Nothing makes sense. And the air has been off.
Just welcome to the biological warfare and all the things that our government loves to do to us and experimenting on the American people. And they've done it before. Why wouldn't they do it again? They never got in trouble. And it's not China. It's not all these other countries that we have to worry about. We have to worry about our own government targeting innocent American citizens through profile policing, through this police state under the emergency executive orders, the John Warner Defense Authorization Act, PDD 51, and many other laws that were passed, like the Patriot Act and the uh, um, uh, NDAA, of course, authorizing the torture of American citizens. While they were setting all this up and saying that it was somebody off in a cave someplace that we needed to do all these things and give up all our rights because they hated our freedom, we basically were buffaloed through the fake crisis to give up what makes America America, which is this idea of the Constitution and Bill of Rights that didn't even exist before really this because of the Banker Act, but like just leading people to believe that everything is all good and we're still a country or we're ever a country. You know what I'm saying? So when people like stand on their rights, it's kind of silly because we're way deeper than that now. And it's, even though that might be good, standing up for your rights and not allowing abuse, they don't view you as a human being that has rights or privileges or decisions or anything. You're just a commodity that's traded on the stock market. You're just, yeah, they are so delusional and disconnected, these psychopaths, that they don't see you as a human living being created in the image of God. They just think of you as something to be managed, and you have to be commoditized, basically. You become the commodity, and they're trafficking in the souls of men, like literally. I mean, and that's what a lot of this technology is all about. Oh, you want to be John for the day? Here's his brainwave signature. Here's his talents. Here's his gifts. You can enjoy them for the day. Just pay us. That's the level that this stuff probably will go, it probably already has. I mean, I'm just saying that it is very dangerous what is going on with this mind control technology that they're using on everyone.
For a long time. And a lot of people can feel it. They've been feeling these crazy problems in the air for a long time, way before the wildfire started. And you want to know what else is strange? People were still going out in the wildfire, smoking cigarettes. And cigarettes is not good for you, but people can't help it. They still got to smoke their cigarettes. So it's like, what do we do in these times? And these times are getting rough. So
what we do, guys, is we educate ourselves. We understand that there are sick people out there that are psychopathic and have no remorse or empathy or sympathy or compassion to any degree. And they're not like you. They're not like me. They can smile in your face and tell you they're here to keep you safe and save lives while they're injuring you and abusing you and hurting you and making you submit through torture and pain compliance. So the very ones that keep saying we're here to keep you safe are the ones torturing you through pain compliance, torture, and abuse. And that's what we're dealing with in America today. So this guy is starting to catch on to the fact, and many Americans are, people are waking up, that something is seriously off because we're being engaged. And these are the ways that we're being engaged. Do you understand? So it's crisis. Then they seek to use the crisis to manage the outcome. And remember, they all say it too. They all say it. And we remember Rahm Emanuel. If you ever remember, he said, we never let a good crisis go to waste. And we can do things that we otherwise couldn't do, he said, if there wasn't a crisis. And then smirks on TV. So this is what they think like, guys. They think that creating a crisis creates an opportunity to do things you otherwise couldn't normally do. Like, you mean impose a police state and torture innocent American citizens? Because that is what has gone on under the national security state, under the terror laws, just labeling Christians and conservatives or people that just believe in freedom or just speak up for themselves and can think for themselves. They don't want you to even be able to think for yourself, guys. And that is what all this torture and harassment and abuse is all about, especially for those of us that are independent and can think for ourselves still and are fighting against this technology and this hijacking of all we love and care about in life. And they make you watch the destruction. They force you to have to watch as they ruin everything. And that is what they're doing, guys. I just want to say, Messenger of the Cross, Pulse Point Media, you guys are the best. Keep up the good work. And I'll be back. I just wanted to drop a couple of these videos today, just because I thought it was important to show the full spectrum dominance that's being perpetrated against us, whether it's your gas, your food, it doesn't matter. It's all weaponized to cause a radicalization and a hostility in society, all deliberately to make the excuse to impose this police state under national security, under emergency rule. And they are busy creating the necessary emergency to use that as an escort to bring us to their solution, which is pre-packaged and pre-planned, and you're not going to like it. I love you guys. Peace out. So really, guys, basically, we're dealing with this asymmetrical warfare, and it's done with the price adjustments. It's done, in every area of our lives due to the system being built to do this, being built to, dominate and control. And, part of the reason they went headlong with all this surveillance for so many years that we were complaining about it is because they knew they were getting ready to do some horrible things to American people. And, they had to have total awareness to protect themselves from the murder and the torture and the killing of innocent people. You know what I'm saying? Just through profile policing and predictive policing models. And so I just want to get into this really quick, and we're just going to cover this because the title is What They Aren't Telling You About the Parasite Outbreak. And it doesn't matter if it's ticks, it doesn't matter if it's mosquitoes being released, it doesn't matter, if it's a parasite. We are under hardcore warfare. And what's being done to us is basically biological warfare. And, they are trying to do whatever they can to make it the most uncomfortable they can and disturb as many people as they can and infect as many people as they can. I mean, just when you look at the tick outbreak, you know what I mean? And it's always just this phenomenon of we've never seen that before. This is the first time we've ever seen that. It's the first time we've ever seen a hurricane just form out of nowhere so fast and so quick and then just run itself right into a city after it parks for like 20 minutes in one spot. It's cruising along fast, and then all of a sudden it's like parks and makes a right angle, right turn. You know what I mean? So they can direct and steer these storms, and we've talked about all the geoengineering companies and the whole plan of basic, 2030 for sustainable development purposes, you need to be sold austerity, you shall have nothing and be happy. And so this trickles down into every area of our lives, and even the food and the weaponization of our food. That is what's going on, guys. It is a war. It is a battle. It is these corporations and companies being in lockstep to get together, agreeing that putting poison in the food is good for us. They just get rid of it. It's like regulations. It's like, oh, we don't know how to dispose of the stanza fluoride. So we'll just dump it in the water. You know what I mean? And then everybody has their pituitary gland calcified because of the damage. And of course, we know that stanza fluoride was used in the water supply in Nazi Germany, and it creates a docile population. So they chemically assault us. They experiment on the American people. One of our own presidents even apologized for it. If you remember, you can type in on YouTube, Bill Clinton apologizes for experimentation on Americans unwittingly, the radiation and Tuskegee, and many other experiments that were done that they don't really disclose or talk about. We just know that if they're doing it once, they'll do it again. And if they can get away with it again, they'll do it again. And that's the way these bully persecutors and narcissist control freaks act and behave. And if you tell them that they're wrong, they get enraged and even do it worse. Because how dare you, peasant, ever have an opinion and speak on your own? You are under mind control, under the hive mind battle that's going on. And we're trying to break that hive mind that they're trying to get all of us merged into. And just because, you're not a targeted individual doesn't mean that this isn't coming for you. The noose is getting tighter and tighter around our necks. Remember, I said that because that is what's going on. And so we have warfare happening against the citizens worldwide. And the companies that are doing this are not doing it by mistake or accident. And there's these chemicals and all these things getting in our food by design. It's intentional. It's to make you sick, make you depend, make you beg, make you plead, and really dumb you down to the point where, you can't be an autonomous, independent individual. So let's take a look at this. We're just coming from this with the angle of this new parasite outbreak, but how many more are to come? And all these lies that, with this World Health crisis that happened in 2020, all these lies that some bat did this and that to somebody, and they tell us all these ridiculous legitimizing stories just to legitimize the fantasy that they have us all under, disconnected under one crisis after the next, looking to our saviors, right? The experts to save us. But the experts are the ones that are allowing also to put the poison in the food and just human feces on the food. And they laugh about it. These big companies and these systems, there's nothing in place to stop the abuse. And, if it's money, these guys just print money and give it to their buddies. And so, like, when you find companies that are busted doing this kind of stuff, it is hard because they just keep doing it because they got the money to pay for the fine. So they don't ever correct the problem. But when you see this happening on every level, guys, in our society, the constant breakdown of whether it's getting gas, getting food, going to work, making a little money, paying your bills, just the normal things of life become weaponized and used in this asymmetrical warfare of attrition. It is all a war to engage and wear your willpower out. And that is what this is all about, breaking you, okay? Breaking you. You have nowhere to run, nowhere to turn, nowhere to hide, and it's getting harder and harder to find food that is actually edible in America without getting cancer. You know what I'm saying? And they're finding more and more the ingredients that have been slipped into our food, they are poisoning Americans deliberately, okay? And they know it. And all these chemicals are banned in other countries. They don't, at least they're sane enough not to poison their own civilians. But our government, that's what they do. They just allow for the poisoning of American citizens and the common average person. You know what I mean? And, everything is so expensive. So it forces poor people to have to, buy worse and worse food due to the price only and not think about health consciousness. Because how can you do that when you don't have any money? And they're breaking your pocketbook. And this is what abusers do to control you. And then they're going to give you what they think you deserve, which is lettuce that has human feces on it. And then they mock, they laugh, they get fined, they don't get in trouble, and they just keep doing it. Just kind of like I said, how they dump raw sewage and toxic chemicals into the Caloosahatchee River, and then it goes out to the ocean, and people swim in that. Okay, and then we get all these red tides and everything else. I just want to talk about how this is on every level, whether they weaponize the weather, whether they weaponize our brainwave activity. They have weaponized everything in this realm, is what I'm trying to say. And we're just getting to experience the anti-human agenda and the hatred that's a hatred, an ancient hatred towards God and towards his creation. That's the way these leaders and rulers feel. But the princes of this world come to nothing. The princes of this world, the great men of this earth, that through their sorceries deceive the nations in 1 hour, will be brought to nothing, God says. So it's like this deceit that is so prevalent in every industry, every area, and they are just poisoning us and getting away with it while everybody argues over regulations, over what's in the food and what's not in the food. And we just are under this type and style of warfare, guys. And this is how they're engaging the American people and radicalizing you deliberately because they need an enemy. Do you understand? So they will torture you and hide the abuse and do things like this on every level to make life miserable. And then you're eating lettuce that has human feces bacteria on it.
This package says triple washed, ready to eat. But
you're not going to like this. It's only transmitted through human feces. And not like when it comes out of the body, it's not mature enough to infect somebody else. So it's got to be human feces that grows in the food or water for however long it takes to grow before it can transmit to another person. So that being said, why is there poop on our vegetables and fruits? You can't wash it off.
Only the military does these kind of things when they go into a country and when they have this soft power or, fever in the background of like, an auxiliary police force of citizens that they've brainwashed and trained to, police the rest of the community after there's an invasion, but they do things like this to make you sick and docile and weak and controllable. Okay. And this is what they're doing on every level, on every single level. There is no escape from the warfare that's being brought to our front door, guys.
This isn't something that if you wash it off, like you can only kill it by cooking it. But like at our commercially grown fruits and vegetables, why is there human feces on it? If that's not enough to make you start your own garden, I don't know what is.
No, don't worry about that. That's illegal as well, and you'll get a SWAT team sent to your house for making raw milk and it's illegal and you'll go to jail. I mean, that's the type of things that they've done to farmers, intimidating farmers and getting them to give up farming and their land and everything, just to neutralize and stop the growth and the development of our autonomy as people, as independent human beings, free, able to eat what we want. And so you shall have nothing and be happy, and you shall eat bugs. I would look to the people that say these kind of things when you see human feces, parasites on the food. And it's not just the lettuce, man. A lot of people, they listen to the regulators and the people that get on TV and parrot the narratives and everything. And it's just like, no, this is deliberate. It's intentional. It's to make you weak and sick and hurt you and dominate you because we're here to keep you safe and save lives. And so this has to be done to you in order to, have the excuse to enter into the picture and be that savior. So abusers always create the abuse necessary in order to position themselves as the hero and the supreme dear leader. Do you understand? Calling the shots over your life even to the point of deciding what you put in your body and what you don't. And they want you dead because that's why they're giving you cancer. And that's why, the glyphosate and all the other chemicals and pesticides and preservatives in the food. It's the same with the adjuvants and adjuncts that they put to cause a severe immune system reaction when you go get your jabby jab, which I wouldn't ever do. But, that makes me an extremist, right? That makes me a danger to the community. And I'm just, considered maybe because of that to be non-essential. Who knows? Maybe that's why I got blacklisted from employment. You know what I mean? Maybe that's why I'm followed around everywhere I go, coming and going, no matter what time of the day I come and go, maybe. You know what I mean? Well, guys, it's like this is part of that. All of this is a system and a machine working together, and the same people that are targeting us are the same ones that are putting poison in the food in America and making us sick. And it's just such an ugly feeling, guys, to have to sit here and be able to know the truth and see the truth and know that there are less and less options happening and the noose is getting tighter, but more and more people are just, slowly but surely waking up. But really, they don't understand the horror of how deep this goes and just how psychopathic it is, and that the rulers are over us. And you got to learn about the psychology of psychopaths and narcissists because that's what we're dealing with. People that have no remorse, no sympathy, no empathy, and even get pleasure off of putting human feces on your food to pull a prank on, they consider dumb Americans. That's what they consider us to be, the elite, the Illuminati. We're just dumb, stupid cattle. And we should just be, micromanaged to death, right? Through this surveillance and control and domination. And we just kept hearing them say, as they set it up over the years, we're here to keep you safe and save lives, as they had one fake crisis after the next, after the next. And I try to let people know this is deliberate. This is crisis management, which is really found in dictatorships and tyrannies and communist countries. You got to learn the lingo. It's communist, and it is crisis management done deliberately, paired with the Hegelian dialectic. It is intentional and deliberate what they're doing to us.
Especially like they're not even being held accountable, right? It's just like, oh, poop, whoopsie, this happened. Sorry about that, guys.
I'm going to show you what this parasite actually is.
Okay, guys, so I just wanted to play that, but let's back up here and let's see what she says in the beginning. I kind of skipped over that, but I just wanted to play that little section and that little part just to help you to realize that we're at war. And this is a war of attrition, and it is a war in which they use the common and ordinary, average, everyday things and weaponize them against you, and then use that to oppress you and afflict you and give that chilling effect and do all the things that they want to do in, shaping behavior to be more agreeable to the self-harming, behavior that they want us all living in. So we need to basically, be sold this austerity, and for the greater good, we need to suffer. And that greater good never comes, by the way, but that's what they tell us in this collectivization and this hive-minded technological dictatorship where they use the mob under this technology to literally go after whoever they want. They can take your mother and make her your own worst enemy, and your mother will pursue you like a rabid dog with rabies wanting to bite you. And you're just wondering, how is this even possible? I thought I came from my mother out of her own womb, and yet she's trying to offer me up and sacrifice me and get rid of me. Maybe it's because I'm the firstborn, blonde hair, blue eyes. Go figure. You know what I mean? Because that's what Aleister Crowley says, is the ideal innocent little boy with blue eyes and blonde hair to be on the altar of Satan for these demons. But that's what Aleister Crowley brags about. But I just want to play this really quick. Let's just go through the intro of what she's saying, just so we can kind of tie this video up. But I wanted to show you guys and make mention that this is what I mean about, the type of warfare, the style of warfare. And it's to make a hostile environment. Constant reactions means constantly getting your attention. And that is how they control you. Through the crisis and through the pain and the breakdown, they get your attention, and then you're focused on and beholding dear leader and the government, and and repeating the phrase, war is peace, basically chanting, under the ministry of truth, which really our government has, banning um the most absurd things. And you got to understand, in a tyranny, like, that is what they do. They become hyper aggressive in micromanaging thoughts, beliefs, faith, things of that nature that they have no business ever intruding into. Okay, so let's listen to what she says right in the beginning, because they're not telling you about this parasite outbreak like they should be, but I'm coming from the place that this is like a military grade operation, basically because of the consistency and the pattern and the frequency and the rate by which these things continue to occur. And whether it's like, trains going off the rails and all these different things that we see, companies burning down, like all these different things, when you look at it as a whole, and all of California is burning down, and you can look at the UN forced relocation maps and how they match exactly where the fires are, like, don't tell me don't try to tell me that I didn't warn you. You know what I'm saying? So there's an agenda. They're burning people out of their homes deliberately. Energy weapons. Welcome to the fourth generation warfare and the space fence and everything else that they have up around us to burn us in our own homes and electrocute our organs and do all kinds of torturous things, just like they did to the Venezuelan military. So we got to understand how far along we are, and that this is the warfare, and it's declared against the civilian and the citizen who's unarmed. And it is all done, this aggressive stance and radicalizing of the government against the people. It's all done in the name of safety, in the name of doing their duty and their job to keep people safe. And that is what they hide behind. Okay. And so we have to start becoming aware and realizing that these people don't mean to keep you safe and save lives, because when we look at the content of what that means and take a deeper look, we see that they're using abuse and damage and torture to keep things safe. So they're torturing innocent people in order to, depreciate, devalue, and make that person of no influence by stripping them of every resource and every friendship and even the ability to take care of yourself. And they do this to get you desperate, to get you to react so that they can take you to jail or put you in a psych ward. That is the goal of this constant harassment and breakdown game that's being played with your life and my life. It is not a game, even though to them it's a sport. It's like a video game. It's just a sport, like I said.
This package says triple washed, ready to eat. But is it really?
Why is there poop on our vegetables and fruits?
Right now, the CDC is reporting over 1,600 confirmed cases of a parasite outbreak across.
Again, we don't care what the CDC says. The CDC says this is the level we need to get where, once a liar, always a liar. Stop trusting and believing in institutions and systems that are put in place to gatekeep and lie to you. And we have to go deeper and understand the level and depth of the control in order to provide the right and proper solution. Many Americans don't even know why the prices are going up. They don't understand the printing of money endlessly and how it devalues the buying power of the dollar, and how desperate people were to warn other Americans while the, Federal Reserve and all these institutions like the IMF and World Bank were holding our country hostage, during the housing crisis and all these other things where our government, basically goes along with these international standards that are created by these roundtable groups that really run the world. Okay. So, but this is all about poisoning you, making you sick, making you weak, making you docile. And they use frequencies to do that too. When there's more military style activity in a neighborhood or in an area, you got dudes in regular clothes, totally trained in tactics of escalation. Okay. In that escalation involves like an engagement that is only warfare tactics used. Do you understand? That's gaslighting. That's destroying your property. That's, putting notes on your car. That's coming and going with you. That's running intercepts on you, crossing your path all sides of the town that you go to. You're just walking and you see the same person again and again and again. And then eventually they escalate the contact, which is unwanted, and might bump into you or push you or try to get a reaction from you. And as soon as you do, you're the terrorist, religious extremist that's dangerous. And that's what they do. They push and push and push and push and push, hiding the abuse to get the breakdown. And when they get the breakdown, that becomes the evidence. Okay.
34 states. An additional 5,100 cases are awaiting testing to determine if they were acquired in the US. Over 3,700 of these are being reported in Michigan alone. As of right now, officials believe they may have finally, after roughly 2 months since the current outbreak began, traced the source of at least part of the outbreak to lettuce supplied by Taylor.
Now, just remember, guys, this government and these institutions have total lifetime surveillance, but they don't know what it's all about or how to stop it or who did it, right? Or who's to blame, right? This is all this false hope that they try to give us that these channels are still proper channels in order to deal with issues and problems and to be able to make changes, which it's just pageantry. They offer us false choices, and you're not part of the power structure, and they don't care about you, and they don't love you, and they don't care about you. But yet these same people want to say they're here to keep us safe and save lives 24/7. Like with a smirk on their face, the smirk, the duper's delight smirk that they give. But I'm just trying to cover this just to include like just a couple current events just to kind of show that this is warfare. This is biological warfare. This is using unconventional things, but things that you're in contact with every day in everyday life to reach you and hurt you and make you sick and make you docile and make you weak so that you beg for a savior.
Taylor farms and distributed to Taco Bell restaurants in 5 states. There are still clusters of the illness around the country that may not be associated with that source, and there's been some strong indication that the outbreak may also be linked to the water supply in certain areas. So we aren't out of the woods yet.
The CDC has now linked part of the major outbreak to the shredded iceberg lettuce served at Taco Bell in South.
And again, this is just an example of the hen or the fox guarding the hen house, right? You've heard that before, that saying, because the very people that are creating the problem are the ones articulating to us what that problem is, defining the narrative and giving that prepackaged narrative to us. And we don't know what truly is going on. We just know that there's ticks everywhere and that new mosquitoes everywhere and like thousands of new mosquitoes. I mean, it's just, they're doing all this biological warfare and disturbing us, the land, the people, the animals. I mean, you can see the effects of it. And by the way, with all the storms and the earthquakes and everything else, I mean, have you ever looked online at any of the hundreds of geoengineering companies where in their mission statements, they talk about the chemicals they're spraying in the clouds in the sky that fall on all of us? Like, at Mount Shasta, the soil quality was tested and it was like 60,000 times parts per million higher aluminum, barium, and strontium in the soil. You know what I mean? So don't say that there isn't evidence and proof when people have tested soil quality to understand just what's being sprayed on us in this strengthening of the ether, basically, so that they can use basically the atmosphere in the sky to run this total surveillance over the world. And literally this is what we have to face, guys, is that we have a bunch of psychopaths, narcissistic, demonic, without remorse, without sympathy, without empathy, not like you, not like me. And they are targeting all of us, targeting us in our food, targeting us with the medical system, targeting us with many, 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 many hardships that wouldn't otherwise be there if it wasn't for these sick people trying to get a breakdown. And that is how they war against you in the open in society, is because you can hide abuse so well by just creating a competition over the resources and over your friendships, over your job, over what you drive, and creating that competition to try to dislodge you from its proper use. And then they try to sacrifice what you're relying on. And when they do that, they're trying to get a bad reaction and trying to get you to lash out and do something physical. which we've had that opportunity for like 25 years and haven't given it to them. But that's what they want. They want to push you and like just outright damage your car right in front of you, throw rocks at your car. The police are over in the corner. They seem to just chuckle and roll by, and nobody wants to do anything about this dude throwing rocks at my car. Like it's like that. It is an above the law status where in a coordinated, organized way, you you're witnessing the injustice of people abusing you in a coordinated, deliberate way, and intentional, very intentional and deliberate way. And you know, there's nowhere to turn. And that's part of this psychological warfare. Like knowing you can't go to the cops, knowing you can't go tell anybody about the tactics that you're experiencing, even the color sensitizing. And it's all done to make you complain about it and do harm to yourself by talking about it in a way that doesn't make sense and in a way that you can't really reach others by what you say. They want you hysterical all the time and jacked up in your nervous system, jacked up in your adrenaline, going off the charts till your kidneys shut down. And they won't stop until those kidneys shut down. Okay. So I just wanted to skip over here and help you to realize that, guys, like this is just a short video in China, okay? And I want to play this short video of thousands of students trapped by floods evacuated via pontoon bridges. Now, this is all part of the sustainable development goals and everything else, but also we realize that they have been prepared and hardening themselves against crises and calamities because they create the crisis and then demand more power and control and get more toys. Okay, so these people are aware of the deliberate flooding, just like they did in Vietnam with the Ho Chi Minh Trail and, seeding the clouds and making it rain all the time. And, we've got presidents that say he who controls the weather controls the world. But I guess we should just ignore that and ignore JFK, who is another president who said things, even though I don't believe that the presidents are the real power structure. They're just puppets. They're installed puppets. And the true power structure is behind that in layers of a hierarchy. Okay, and you got to understand, like, look at China right here in this video. Let's just play this video. And you ask yourself, like, this foregone conclusion that just keeps happening. They've got all these toys and gear and all ready for the floods, right? Because they're also the same people that are causing the weather changes, seeding the clouds in the planet, and creating this heat blanket in many different ways using HARP and microwave pulse energy and all kinds of different technologies to steer storms. We've seen with the radar that they use and NextRad and I believe it's called, I'm not totally sure with that, but they use radar to steer hurricanes and storms. Okay, and there's many other things that they can do, but when they disperse these particles of heavy metal like aluminum, barium, and strontium, aluminum is cancer causing and it falls on us, and that's why cancer has gone up like you've never seen. But the fact is that they're making and creating an anti-human environment, and we are letting them do it. And they're psychopaths. They hate life, they hate God, they hate themselves, and they have all the world's possessions. They have all the world's wealth. They print money and give it to their brothers and friends in this cult and leave us out to starve and suffocate to death under the consequences of their radical extremist actions. And the only ones that are truly sovereign citizens are these people that are broken away from every government of the world and are bringing hell on all of us. So let's take a look at this, guys. And I just want to show you the forethought, like that these governments are prepared for crisis, and they have the crisis to have the excuse to really prepare and arm up really big time and just say it's for a crisis and to keep you safe. Meanwhile, it can be redirected and used against you like a weapon. Do you understand all these things? But here we have these amazing craft that they just dump into the water, these rafts. And it's like, I was just thinking to myself, like, look at all these people on these rafts and this photo op that they're doing. And it's just amazing to me, the preparation and the tools and the equipment that they have and can deploy so fast, because we're living in this new word called resiliency. And you got to learn what that means and what these people mean when they say resilient. It is about bringing a crisis on a city and strengthening and radicalizing the city to give up all their rights to the control of these tyrants. That is what it really means. Okay, so, but let's play this. And you're telling me that with the control that they have, that and the surveillance and everything else that they have, that they just couldn't warn the people and let them know a big storm's coming and that there's going to be so much rain that it's going to flood a whole entire city. But it's just this conditioning, guys, this military style conditioning. And it's just like the Prussian model of education, like drilling, testing for obedience, not for you to learn anything real. And this is why they use the crisis and the tyranny crisis management to get you to go along with this corralling in the name of keeping you safe and saving your life. But they're going to put you in a prison camp because they have no place for you. So you have to go to a labor camp and you're not going to be let out, because of the crisis and emergency and breakdown of society. So it seems like they only have the prison camps. You know what I mean? That's like their only solution, to work you to death because you're a slave. You're a wage slave. And that's the bottom line. All of us have to face this reality. But here, China, just like every other country, is totally arming up and resilient because of the crises that they bring upon themselves in order to justify the hardening and the radicalizing of the government against the people. And this just crisis using weather weapons to drive people off the land and frequency-based platforms and using those heavy metals in the atmosphere to steer clouds and storms and, to cause different events by hitting it with electromagnetic waves and frequencies. And so this aluminum falls on the soil, the food, and us. So it's layers of a mess. It's not just the poison in the food and the preservatives and additives and everything else. Okay, but it is not just the human feces on the food and ticks everywhere and mosquitoes being released on us. And then these global elite just sitting back and laughing and chuckling and twiddling their thumbs about what evil they can bring on us next. Okay, and it's a game, it's a sport, and we have to understand that. All right, guys, so they have these barges that they can deploy, and I'm just revealing that, China knew that there was going to be a weather event, just like our government knows there's going to be a weather event because they're behind the managing and controlling of that weather. And it can be done with electromagnetic waves and frequencies. And, there's other such waves like scalar waves and all these different things, millimeter waves. We've talked about a lot of different platforms, but just know that they are calling for forced relocation at the UN. The UN forced relocation maps match the areas that California is burning down. And remember the wildfires in Hawaii and in Canada and all these so-called fires, but yet the fire smells like plastic and hundreds of miles away in the United States, right? It's just the smoke. No, we are at war and we didn't ask for it. We didn't want it, but they are engaging in these ways to radicalize and to get a conflict going. And it's death by 1,000 cuts. So you don't know who's doing it to you, folks. Okay, and then let's go here really quick. I just wanted to touch upon this guy, Talk to Him Bro, which I kind of like this guy's channel. He's very calm, very peaceful, and really makes some good points in his videos. So I really appreciate this guy for doing videos, and I hope he keeps doing the good work that he's doing by just bringing awareness to some of the things that we're going through so we can see how it's on every level. It's not just the targeting. We're going through a complete and total breakdown like the phoenix and being restructured into something that will not be recognizable after, they get a hold of us with these crises that they mean to put upon us. And it's all not natural. It's all manufactured, deliberate, and we don't need to go through it. If we just understand that the Federal Reserve is not federal and they are a criminal organization and they have hijacked through fractional reserve banking, they have hijacked our country and restructured it under the Banker Act. Okay. And so we do not have a country. It is just pageantry. And they're hoping you never, ever discover the performance and the act that those in government are playing as they are imposters posing as government officials, as employees of the Federal Reserve to be there to do what? To only consolidate the debt and the bankruptcy. That is what they are there for, to manage the bankruptcy of the United States. And the restructuring of the United States happened a long time ago. We could say maybe even 80 years ago. And we saw the declaring of martial law with the whole incident with the Cuban Missile Crisis and Oliver North and where they talked about a parallel shadow government being set up under the emergency declarations. And they were very concerned that there was talk about suspending the Constitution, which they did. And so we don't have a country at all, and we never really did. And even the history of this country is a complete and total lie on every level, the things we've been told. But what length will you go to and how deep will you go to wake up and understand and be confident about, and have the humility to be like, I don't really know like I should know. And everything that I've been told is a lie. And it doesn't matter if it's school or science or all these different things that we've been told over the years growing up under the propaganda. But something is seriously off with the air quality. And this again speaks to the asymmetrical war that is being perpetrated against us as citizens, and it's forced engagement. Do you see what I'm saying? It is forced interaction. That is why they do it. And they do it to get involved in your life. So the abusers, put themselves in the position and take the moral high ground before they do the abuse to you. And then when they do the abuse to you, they just turn around and deny that they had any part in causing the problem. And then they just say to you, we're here to keep you safe and save lives. That's all we're here to do. And it is like a bewitching power repeating that phrase again and again and again and again. It is a form of magic. It is a form of witchcraft to just keep saying we're here to keep you safe and save lives as the justification to do great damage to innocent people, guys. And that's why I'm here speaking about it, because all of us are in trouble and we just don't get it totally, because it's way more serious than I can even explain with words. We're not doing this because we want a channel. We're doing this because our lives were backed into a corner and there was no escape but that we use our voice. You understand? And they even tried to take that away. But something is seriously off with the air quality and millions are starting to notice it. Let's see what he has to say.
Is in the air. And it's more than these wildfires in Canada. And millions are starting to notice it because things just don't make sense no more. Nothing's adding up. They tell us don't eat healthy because something's in the food. They tell us we can't go outside.
It's not adding up, bro, because the fact remains is that we're under this intermittent reinforcement, meaning that two polar opposites don't equal the same thing. But all day long on TV, we have representatives and people that are quote unquote experts and authority figures, taking both sides. One day they'll say yes, the next day they say no. One day it's this, the next day it's the polar opposite. And they do that deliberately. in order to dislodge you from your own thinking and ability to think, because it disassociates you from yourself, because you don't know what to believe, because both can't be true when two polar opposites don't equal the same thing. And that is what makes people so confused and disconnected and disassociative from their own self and taking responsibility and accountability. I believe that is one of the main tactics as they, glad hand each other after the crisis and tell us that they're our heroes and our saviors. Okay. And that's what they do.
It's not good for us. It's like they don't want us to do nothing. So in this video, I'm about to just share with y'all the things that people are going through, and they're starting to notice it, and it just don't make sense.
And that's like my whole goal here, guys, is to try to make some sense out of it, because you guys got to realize, like, think about it, guys. How many crises do we have to go through? Has life just become only crises and only breakdowns and collapse? Is that what life is? Or is it being done intentional and deliberate, defying the laws of probability in the patterns that repeat again and again and again and again? Wouldn't you start to come to assume that it's deliberate and intentional when things that defy repeating again, repeat again, and they do it so much so that it alters all of humanity and all of life with such persistent, consistent behavior modification and changing people through crisis management, through this tyranny of damaging and engaging and damaging human life and activity. And this is what is going on when you can't go outside because the air quality is so bad. And like, you're going to hear this guy. This guy is just hysterical about it, which I understand, because it's hard to breathe and you're breathing in all these chemicals and you don't even know what they are. And pretty soon, you get cancer. Do you think the government is going to care when you get cancer and die? Do you think they love you so much? Is that why they wanted you to get the jabby jab so bad? Because they love you so much and care about you so much. When has the government ever given anybody something free? You know what I'm saying? And yet they're offering all this free stuff. You should take warning when that happens. And we've even had presidents still part of this controlled structure that are still part of the cult, because it's like they're all on the same team, but yet the propaganda is so severe that like people just really think like, that this political person or that person is going to save them, and never get to the root of the issue about what's really happening in our country, what's really going on a personal, social level. And I'll tell you, they've hijacked human relationships. Now, every person that you have met in the last 15, 20 years was not natural. It wasn't brought about because you guys gelled or felt good about each other and, had a kindred spirit, so to speak. That's not the reason. It was artificial. Just looking back and realizing these strange people that just come in your life and go and come and go, and how a lot of it was manufactured and really like honeypots and things of that nature to try to get control over you. And you didn't know you were such a big threat, because all you were doing was trying to better yourself and live your life and live a quiet life. You weren't in competition with other people. You weren't fighting, to win and make others lose. That's not who you are. You're thinking that all can win. That's like the type of heart you have. Okay, but look at this. This is warfare. This is a radicalizing and a destabilizing of society. This is done intentionally and deliberately to get your attention and to control you.
The bombs have just touched down. I'm stepping outside for the first time. I think I'm the only one left. There's literally dust everywhere. You can't even breathe. Everyone's gone. A friend of mine said,
I wouldn't be panicking like that. Probably I wouldn't be hysterical. It actually is just very disappointing, to the point where there's sorrow in your heart over the damage to human life on every level, whether it's the fish that are all dead on the ocean from the chemicals they release in it, but they never get in trouble. And you and I are blamed. You and I, as the common average everyday citizen, is responsible and made to feel guilty and ashamed. And we have to give up the good things in our life because, you can't have it, but these guys get to fly around in jets and planes and burn more CO2 than anybody else on the planet. But yet it's a double standard of abuse. And they want to, create this new Ponzi scheme economy where they're taxing you for the air you breathe. Do you understand? So this is all part of that and part of driving the desperation and part of a bigger agenda. This is warfare done by our own government, by our own military, not China, not some other far off enemy. This is done by our own people in our own government. And this is what we've been trying to say forever. We have to wake up, get rid of the false patriotism, get rid of thinking that you can vote. These presidents are installed, these people are installed to run this agenda on us. And you just got to get your heart and mind around the fact that God loves you. He doesn't want you to be a victim of one crisis after the next. Life was not supposed to be this way, but they have made it this way. And I really believe you, me, as real targeted individuals, as people that have been true victims of this warfare, really have the advantage in helping others understand that are just waking up. So I appreciate every single one of you. Let's keep moving.
Said to me yesterday, he said, you know, I find it funny that smoke can travel for over 1,000 miles. The ash. Like, I have ash at my house.
Oh, dude, we got a terrorist right here. This guy needs to be arrested, put in a prison camp, like work him to death. Like, you know what I mean? Oh, we got ourselves a live one right here. He's actually thinking. Oh my gosh, how dare you?
Laying on everything. Now, if you have a campfire in your backyard, could you imagine trying to make the ash from your campfire travel even 100 yards or a mile? Now, just compound that by like a forest fire, but imagine trying to make that forest fire and that ash drift for 1,000 miles.
And you know, the fires are bigger because they're spraying aluminum, barium, and strontium, and aluminum's flammable. And so, you know, just the slightest heat, you know what I'm saying? So the forests and the national parks are caked with it.
It almost seems like naturally or with like I don't see how it's possible.
And it's not possible. That's why I'm saying that this is a warfare strategy tactic that's used to destabilize and to put the noose around your neck tighter. And the more crises that they allow and, you know, make happen, because under this surveillance state, we should know exactly who's doing it, right? I mean, if everything is being so surveilled in live time on multiple levels and platforms, we should know exactly how these things are happening by now, because that's the level of control that they've called for and achieved. And yet they still demand more power and control and can't stop these fires, right? You mean the very fires that they're causing through their fourth gen warfare and weapon systems that are silent weapon systems being used on the general public and being used to burn down the forests and burn down neighborhoods and houses so they can force relocate people?
To me, it seems like it's gotta be something else other than just a natural fire. Am I wrong? Something don't add up. It's like we have to just accept this stuff that comes our way, and we have to just breathe it in, not knowing the effects, the long-term effects of.
I do not accept it, just so you guys know. Like, I'm not here, you know, I'd rather just hold my breath forever. That's how much commitment is in me because of the murder and the death and the destruction that these people have caused, right? So I am surrendered. That's the way I respond. Surrendered to the Lord Jesus Christ, because it's only Him that can allow for, you know, the victory and escaping, even though the condition might not change. Inwardly, you're enjoying Christ in the face of what you're going through. So that's a whole other topic and a whole other idea that I'm presenting, because it is like the only thing that has allowed me the patience, because while I'm suffering, I'm enjoying Jesus in the face of it, and He's showing me His power and His ability and everything else. So it really doesn't matter if the condition remains the same, even though I'd like it to change. That's not my focus. My focus is on serving the Lord Jesus Christ and being occupied with enjoying Him. That's the difference. in the face of all this, it's such a wonderful thing when you can abandon yourself and the things that these enemies have sacrificed and destroyed, because you know in heaven you have a better and more enduring substance that God is going to give you. That's why these people, even when you had nothing, were threatened by you, because they see the blessing on you and they see God's choice over you and to accept you and to favor you. And, they just can't understand that and are very angry about this selection that is clear and that God makes clear to our family and friends and always testifies that what we chose to trust and believe was in fact the right path, loaded with evidence and confirmation. If they only could just look back and remember like 5 minute 5 minutes before without, the pea brain where it's just totally distracted all the time, and just unable to retain the faculties required to be able to become autonomous again, and people have been hijacked and they don't even know it. And this is what my work is. This is what my goal is to inform you, to educate you, to do whatever I can in my time, my energy, to be able to reach just one of you that's suffering, just one of you. And it is necessary that we talk about these things because on every level we are in this warfare, whether we like it or not. And the smoke and the ash traveled 1,000 miles, but how? That's what we're wondering. And why does it smell like an electrical fire or something of that nature? And you can smell the plastic, it's like when you burn electrical tape. You can smell that like electrical tape type smell burning, the rubber burning. And the whole sky is complete smog. You don't think these companies just like release chemicals and do this in the night? I mean, you know what I mean? It could be anything, but I'm just saying that it is, pretty obvious that, there is this agenda to collapse and control the United States. And along the way, they're going to make you a good little servant and a yes man because you dare not, express individuality in a communist country. And that is literally what they've done with all the sustainability stuff. It's all communism. The sustainability stuff, it's just about transferring power. It has nothing to do with saving the planet. So you better get over that. You want to sustain the planet and you think, we're suffering from global warming and everything else. And that whole issue has been so keyed on and used as a mind control tool when literally, we've got all these things happening and we bring it up all the time and know that, just put it this way, we know communism when we see it. Okay. And anybody that knows Karl Marx or reads Karl Marx, to understand this type of revolutionary activity, really like a colored revolution happening in the United States. That's basically along the lines of the type of warfare that we as American people have to go through and experience. And it's sabotage to property, it's sabotage to your employment, it's blacklisting you, it's gossiping and slandering about you, smearing you, slandering you, trying to get evidence by doing evil in your name because you won't give it to them. So the best thing they can do is agree together and do evil in your name together in a coordinated way and say you did it. Okay. And so part of this warfare, aside from the targeting of individuals, is the targeting of all of us. And they are creating an environment that is anti-human.
What exactly is in this smoke that we're breathing? Or if it really came from this fire. Am I crazy? Just tell me if this whole thing makes you feel very uncomfortable and kind of like curious on to what's really going on.
I want to show you guys something. Okay, so I am in the Northeast in the US, and I have religiously been watering my plants every day this summer, sometimes twice, depending on how hot it was. And they were flourishing all summer until the last couple of days when we had these wildfires. Take a look at this. My plants are now dying.
Traditional grounding shoes only work
All right, guys, I didn't mean to have this commercial pop up, but let's just get through it and keep going.
I don't even know if you can tell in the video, but a couple days ago, these were great. Like, look at.
Okay, and guys, just a short point on this is like if it's killing biological stuff like plants, what do you think it's doing to us? Okay, just think about that. If it's killing plants and making them die, what do you think that it does to us? And also, many people will have lung infections and all kinds of hospital visits because of what they're doing to us. But the true culprits and the ones creating the tyranny never get addressed. And they just keep hiding behind layers of propaganda, layers of broken, and layers of collapse. And this is what is done. We are being sprayed like rodents and rats in a war. And this war is worldwide. And in the NATO countries, they're spraying the sky like mad. And it's all about the hive mind control and the technology. It's not just about blacking out the sun, okay, which is something else that they want to do. And they do that because the sun's good for you and they've trained you to think that it's like a deadly poison that's giving you cancer when it's like the best drug for your body you could ever get. You know what I'm saying? But they've trained people that the sun is deadly, dangerous, stay out of it. But really, it's just the lotion you're putting on that has all the chemicals that have been linked to cancer. And when you bake that on your skin, you're baking it right into your bloodstream, like you wouldn't believe. That's why you get leukemia. You know what I'm saying? But it's not the sun, but people blame the sun. These anti-human creatures that are calling the shots in this wicked world over good people. And, it just takes one good person to stand up, really, to influence others. And they know that, so they're very scared about, torturing targeted individuals. And then that tortured individual becomes believable and credible. That's something that they really don't want. Do you understand?
Look at this. Look at this. What? I have lived in this area all my life, and I am in my 40s. This was never a thing. And I'm so sick of the gaslighting and even more sick of people just accepting this like it's the norm. Like the smell also. It's like burning plastic or an electrical fire. And these particles that they're talking about that are so small, they can get into the depths of our lungs and our bloodstream. It's giving, I don't even want to say it because I don't want this video to be suppressed.
I just want you guys to know this is all a crisis. And this is what I mean about the crisis. It's crisis, crisis, crisis. And of course, anybody over time starts to become, worn out by the constant stimulus and the trauma. And they know that, and they're doing it deliberately. And that is why there is no protection. Nobody comes to the Carolinas when they had that big, hurricane go through the mountains. I mean, we're seeing the most crazy weather events and storms that you've never seen before. It couldn't be that they're spraying the skies, right? All these geoengineering companies online that list their, memo and mission statement on their web pages, they must just be lying. And I'm just crazy for even bringing it up, right? They can't influence the weather, control the weather, or control storms, or use it in such a way that it would drive people out of particular land that they want to grab and take from the people. Remember, there's a fire sale going on of the United States, and it's happened in the past. And we're just on the land, and we have, owners change hands, right? But we're just on the land, right? And they've pledged you and me as collateral against the debt to experiment on us, to do whatever they want with us. And that's what they've done. Over the years, we've shown it. That's what they've done. And it's all done in the name of keeping you safe and saving lives. And that is why the air quality is so bad. And we just need more money, more power, more surveillance, more funding to keep you safe. And that's what we're here to do. We're here to keep you safe and save lives. Give us more power, more control, more money. And we're really sorry about, people breathing in toxic chemicals all day long that give you cancer, but it's okay, because we're doing this all for the greater good. And that's why we can eliminate, masses of the population is what they think, because it's for the greater good, for sustainability purposes. This is the way they think. humans are a disease and bad and we're the problem, when really you see all the corporations are the ones causing the great devastation upon the earth. And we get blamed for it. We get blamed for it. And then eventually we'll have to give up more and more freedom, more and more autonomy just to please the ones that say we need to do it because it's our fault and we've caused global warming by breathing. Okay. And that's what they've been doing side by side with the terror laws. So they use this two-pronged attack system. You know, there's a shadowy enemy. You can't figure out who it is. It could be anyone. So they can indiscriminately target anyone selectively. And it is horrible what they've gotten away with.
But also, did you know that this is called a dark day when this happens? Like 10 days of darkness? I don't know.
Yeah, it's more than a dark day. It's a dark eternity, really. And we're seeing like the gates of hell open up and being, just opened up on people on the earth. It's like a portal's been opened and all these demons are just rushing out and possessing our loved ones and friends and everything else. I mean, I'm just saying, it seems like that with the level of hijacking and mind control in there. Our family is not even present, like mentally, they're not even there. And when they can't recognize behavior that's misplaced and not a part of their identity or personality, we've got a problem. You know what I mean? It's a big problem the way our family and friends have been so disassociative and such haters of the truth and willing to do whatever it takes to cover up the truth just because they wanted to make a name for themselves and have a better appearance to people. That's literally why they sacrifice us and sacrifice everything in order to get those bad reactions with the hope of stimulating a false narrative. Your reaction backs up their slander. That's why they do it and try to push for a bad reaction in front of others as much as they possibly can. But this is very serious. This is warfare, and this is what they're doing. And whether it's the grocery prices, the gas prices, whether it's the air quality, if it's the national parks and forests, you can't go outside because there's ticks everywhere. This is all done deliberately by the military, by our own government, and many other non-governmental agencies that participate in the experimentation of all these, companies. They experiment on the American people with no stopping them. And there are no laws to stop them. They might fine them, and that's it. And then they just keep releasing the toxins into the atmosphere. So that's what we have, but yet we as people are being blamed, and we have to give up a lifestyle, right? In order to, care about the earth and to care about the future generations, which really they've just destroyed the world through deliberate, intentional means to get us dependent. They don't care about all that. They've destroyed families and everything else. And they just are there trying to get a total, complete collapse and breakdown deliberately. Why would someone do that? Because they got an agenda. That's why. And that's not the end game. But I want to let you know that this air quality is definitely not fires, and it's definitely a form of warfare and tactics of warfare that are used when a country has been subject to oppressive regimes. Like when there is a tyranny, there is crisis management. Like it goes together. The crisis management is deliberate. It's how they manage you. It's how they control you. It's one crisis after the next. Are we going to keep believing in these crises? Or are we going to call their bluff and say enough is enough? What are we going to do? Are we going to wake up to the truth that very sophisticated psychopathic manipulators have seized total control in ways that would make your head spin? And that while we were distracted and doing all these other things in life and watching football games, that these people were organized and coordinated in a very militant type way to gain the full and total control over the human experience. And they get to decide who you're with, who you're not with, where you live, where you don't live, where you work, where you don't. I mean, the ultimate communism. But with this overlay of technology as they hijack the human brainwave signature, literally, and broadcast an artificial synthetic version of you back onto you and others. And it's a theft of your identity because you're being digitized and you are being cloned digitally. And whether it's your brainwave signature, the entrainment that they do, the organ entrainment that they do to get your body to depend on a falsified stream of energy to replace the natural. And then they want to get your body dependent on that and then push the button and make you have a heart attack as they shut off the signals. This is all about creating your digital clone and really stealing your identity and broadcasting that in an EMF broadcast in order to broadcast on the brain and nervous system of the people around the target. This is why you get so much directed speech, is because there's this hive mind and they demonstrate the syncing of the people around you in a coordinated, organized way, all saying the same thing to you with the same tone, with the same gesture, the same phrase. And they let you know you're under surveillance. The more you complain about it, the more it makes you look delusional, right? Because you're sitting there telling people that people are following you and harassing you and gesturing towards you and, doing all these non-touch torture tactics that are used in warfare time.
Let me know what you guys are experiencing and think in the comments.
So now this haze that I'm seeing out here is supposed to be smoke from Canada or something, huh? The plastic smell in the air is smoke from Canada. Does their wood burn differently and it smells different when their wood burns up in Canada as opposed to when we burn wood down here in America? You know what I mean? Like, it's a clear plastic smell, bro. That's not wood. That is a clear burning plastic smell. But you're going to tell me it's wildfires up in Canada. Come on, man. Anybody else noticing this? Anybody else? Huh? Smells like burnt plastic. Does not smell like a campfire. Does not smell like burning.
Like I said, they're operating domestically, military, the threat fusion centers, all the amalgamation of all the different branches of the government and the National Guard in your local community. And they are prosecuting a war. And under the terror laws, they have nominated you as, the threat. And that is what they've done through their profile policing. You didn't commit a crime, you didn't do anything wrong, but you are being singled out and you are being targeted.
Woods. No, it smells like burnt plastic. But it's just smoke coming down from Canada. It's nothing else going on. Nothing to see here. Move along. Keep your heads down. Don't ask questions. So what do you think it actually is? What do you think is actually in the air? What's causing this smell again? Why does it smell like plastic when the wood's supposed to be burning in Canada but not down here?
And all this smoke coming from Canada all the way to Chicago and shit, my asthma.
That is the biggest lie I've ever heard. Just the stretch of the imagination to believe that in the first place, that the smoke is coming from Canada. Right? I mean, it's just they lie to us and make war against us and lie to us and create a crisis and then laugh about it, then drive us into their arms again and again and again. We are ruled by psychopaths.
I'm not fucking with this shit at all. I ain't gonna hold you. It's smoky as hell outside. It smells like a bunch of burning wood, and I keep wheezing up in it. Put the fire out immediately.
So it's 8 o'clock in the morning and we're seeing the wildfires, aka man fires, if that's even what it is. But look how strange the sky is behind me. But look at the sun. Sky. There's no chance that this isn't even fire related. This could be, some kind of smart dust, smart gas.
100%, dude.
Nanotechnology. And people will say, well, there's proof of the fires. Well, guess what? There's also a lot of AI videos out there that look extremely real, but we don't.
And also there's a lot of that, plus a lot of using like laser systems and different types of silent weapon systems to burn down neighborhoods. I mean, not that, right?
I don't actually know anymore, so.
Has anyone actually made it to
Sorry, guys, this has commercials, so I'm just trying to get through this really quick because I was making some points real quick, but
People in Canada to step to the front. Are y'all really experiencing a wildfire? I have not seen any videos of people from Canada speaking out about this wildfire. All I'm seeing is people from the US talking about it and how bad it is. Now, just hear me out for just a little bit because I really don't believe that these are wildfires. I believe that there is something being put into the air and they are deeming it as a wildfire.
100% smart lady.
And even if it is a wildfire going on, I'm going to need the people in Canada to come out and speak about this. Because not so long ago, when we had a wildfire that happened, the world started to get very weird. Because, baby, I know that wildfires start, but this is the second time for me hearing about it that this wildfire has started.
They have no respect for you. They treat you like children. The public education system graduates you to your employer and you're treated like a child. You have to ask to go use the restroom from your boss during the day. You're still a child. They've trained us to be that way, really, through the way that they've controlled all of us. But this lady is 100% right. It's like, these fires are not coming from Canada, but this is just to speak to the level of arrogance of the ones that are calling the shots over us, that they just tell us, like most abusers, that's not what you saw and that's not what you heard. You're dysfunctional and mentally ill and you just don't see clearly, but we're not of that type or breed to be insecure about what we're seeing and experiencing because so much of our lives, God has worked to bring confirmation. So we've tested our thoughts and tested what's of us and what's not. And so we might be a little bit different in that process, but I'm just trying to say that God does give you relief and can save you from a lot of hardship just by understanding this as a rule of thumb and like understanding that, that we are in war, and whether it's physical war, where you're thinking, troops on the streets. But that's not the way this war is being fought against the civilians of the world. It's a war of attrition. It's a war of death by 1,000 cuts, so that the true ones that are doing it to us never get caught for what they're trying to pull.
I just do not believe that this is a wildfire. I do not believe that this is what it is. I believe they are saying that that's what it is to get us to believe that this is what it is, because why does the air look like that? Something about that just don't sit right with me. It didn't sit right with me back then. I seen some overly strange ass shit that was going on. I peeped that shit. But I just need people from Canada. I need this video to reach people from Canada. I need y'all to verify that this is actually a wildfire. Verify that y'all are actually seeing this wildfire and that it is affecting y'all as well.
So warfare, the art of deception, misdirection, legitimizing fake, false narratives and stories is the name of the game with these people that are abusing us. And of course, they're just going to say it's wildfires when they do a military operation on the general public and release, ticks or mosquitoes or they could do the courtesy of telling people, hey, we're going to burn down this neighborhood with directed energy weapons. So you guys got about 2 weeks to get out of here. I mean, they're not even considerate enough to do that. They just burn these people down in their own homes, right? And we noticed that the blue roofs, the ones that were blue, somehow made it through and didn't get affected in Hawaii. And we've seen this in California as well. Something about that blue color like neutralizes the laser that they're using. And so we've seen people, who know the game and what's being played here and how it's being played. And they take preparation before, and who gets a blue roof, really? You know what I'm saying? So these people are busted because it shows prior knowledge, and that some are just warned in society about what's to come, what kind of military operation through the military industrial complex that's overblown and is just ready to, play games with the citizen. I mean, because after all, they've got all the toys and the weapons now to do it and engage us. And we wouldn't even know that they're engaging us because that's the level of mind control and the level of technology that they're using, not just bodies on you in the streets.
We just need answers over here.
Very unhealthy air quality for everyone, not just high-risk groups, everybody. Officials just updated the air quality in the D.C. area from code red, which is bad, to now code purple, which is even worse. This is all because of the smoke from those Canadian wildfires drifting into our area. I mean,
I'll just keep repeating that again and again and again and again because that's the legitimizing. Anything you hear repeated keywords again and again and again, it is programming, obviously.
here in Arlington, over my shoulder here, you can see the Air Force Memorial. Well, normally on a good day, if you pan over to the side, you can see parts of the DC skyline. For example, you can normally see the National Cathedral, but not today. Nothing but smoke and haze.
You know, maybe it's like these geoengineering companies that are allowed to spray the skies with all kinds of cancer-causing agents and chemicals and lithium disbursements and everything else we've heard even before, the lithium disbursements, medicating the general public without them even being aware of it, spraying chemicals in aluminum, barium, and strontium. They are the ones that are responsible for changing the climate and the weather. They're directly interfering with it and hijacking it and controlling it. And to think that these control freaks don't want to also control Mother Nature and the weather, and if you think that's impossible when we live in an electromagnetic grid, basically, and you don't know anything about that kind of thing, you're really going to think that it's impossible. But it's not impossible, and they've achieved great success with controlling the weather, storms, hurricanes, tornadoes, guiding, steering, directing, creating. Okay. And all the patents are there and everything else, even though people don't want to believe in the patents. They just say those are patents. But you know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, well, there's just layers of proof for what's going on. And this is part of a strategy of warfare because it's deniable. Remember, if the government abuses you, they're always going to do it with plausible deniability. Always. That's why they do it through third parties and get third parties to abuse you so that when, you know, you catch on, they can just wipe their hands and say, we don't know anything about it.
This is not a good day for people to be outside, especially exercising or doing anything strenuous. The advice here is to stay indoors. Pop on that air conditioning. Keep your windows closed in both your home and your car. Just take it easy.
Yeah, just take it easy and, you know, create for yourself your own prison and coffin. And don't go outside. And of course, you know, don't breathe in the air. You know, stay inside for weeks, you know. And it's all this lockdown training because it's a worldwide police state. And it doesn't matter the crisis used, they'll use whatever it takes to break us, to get us to depend on, you know, this roller coaster ride that we're being taken on.
Hopefully we're going to get some relief tomorrow.
This almost feels illegal to know.
All right, guys, this is just, these commercials are really annoying, but I'm just trying to get through it.
I'm out here risking lung cancer just to go to the grocery store because there's all this smoke in the air. But I just left out the grocery store with one bag of groceries, and it cost me $100 or $91. I ain't even buy nothing serious. Look at this.
Yeah, I mean, and this is the other thing. This is what I mean about a war of attrition, a war to wear you out, wearing you out at the gas station, wearing you out at the grocery store. You know, it's better just to not even have a job because the amount of gas and the amount of money you pay to get to your job and back every day, like, takes away so much money that you're just like, what's the point of even going? You know what I'm saying? That's the level they got us, guys, under. And, you know, they just continue to keep these things in place deliberately because they're radicalizing you. They want you upset. They want you engaged. They want you angry. They want you fighting. They want people to go after each other with the artificial scarcity that is created by these abusive scumbags that just want to hurt people. And that's what I'm here for, is to break down the tactics of these abusers and their control. And I hope that you guys are understanding, you know, just how serious this stuff can be psychologically. I mean, narcissistic abuse causes brain damage, literally. And these people have been doing this to us our whole lives. And we're speaking out about it. We're not going to remain quiet about it no matter what they sacrifice in our lives. We know that we're speaking the truth and we know that this is truly what's going on. God has made us aware of it. And for years, we've been trying to just educate people and let people know that there will come a time where you are engaged and you're going to be engaged by this indirect means. It's crisis management and creating a collapse and a breakdown and those conditions that make it impossible to survive and exist. That is warfare. That is deliberate. That is our own military and our own government that's criminal doing this to American citizens and blaming it on China or some other far off enemy so that they never get, held accountable for what they've been doing and what they've been letting their buddies do as they rape all of us financially with, just all the prices going up. And the deliberate devaluation of the dollar is why we're forced to pay so much more. And just remember that they gave that money that we're now paying for in inflation. They gave that money to their buddies. You just remember that. They just bail out their buddies and leave you with the tab.
There's my one bag of groceries, right? And look at this bill. Look at this bill. Look at that. Look at that. $91. Here's a list of things. It ain't even that serious. I got tuna fish. I got mayo. I got some burger buns. Why is this $91?
Warfare, because when you're not well fed and you're not well nourished, you're weakened. And when you're weakened, you're manageable. When you're weakened, you're controllable. That's why they're poisoning us in the food.
And I think what's so frustrating is that the politicians keep hooting, hollering, and screaming that capitalism somehow is a great thing. Capitalism, schmapitalism, they need to put regulations on these companies.
Yeah, and we've never had real capitalism, really, because it's been insider trading and Ponzi schemes. So there's never been a real, free market, free and open market that's not hijacked and controlled. Insider trading is not capitalism, but that's basically what we got going on. A bunch of gangsters and mobsters, basically, that are international people, International Monetary Fund and all these roundtable groups like the Council on Foreign Relations are running the international policy on the United States. And in spite of the laws of the land, they don't care about that because they realize there are no laws of the land in America, basically. But the law that says we're the government, we can do whatever we want to you, national security, it's a matter of national security, so we can abuse you whatever way we want and never be investigated.
They need to put regulations on goods. Certain goods can't be a certain price based off of the minimum wage that we have, because the minimum wage is the same that it's been since 20 years ago. I was a kid in college and it's still the same minimum wage now, but the price of everything has gone up.
And you don't think this is a cult? You don't think that these companies and corporations, like during the time of the health crisis, when they're getting all kinds of federal subsidy money to shut down and to get rid of people and to do what was required to, just operate with the essentials? You remember that? Like, might as well just, fire an employee that's been with the company for 20 years just because they didn't go along with the agenda, you know what I mean? And ruin somebody's life. No big deal. And there is no regulations, there is no laws. It's just lawless, even if there's laws.
It seems impractical. It seems dumb. I think anybody looking at the numbers would say, well, this doesn't work, then we need to make a change. So I don't understand why people aren't getting madder at their representatives and saying, y'all need to do something about these.
Again, this is a false hope. Again, this is what I'm trying to say, is that this is a misdirected person right here, even though, hey, good message, whatever. I'm just saying that because we can't put our hope and our trust in the wolf or in the fox that is guarding the hen house. Do you understand what I'm saying? You're going to the very people that are causing and creating the crisis and the collapse and the problem, and they're not our representatives. They never were our representatives. And that's what you got to understand, that it's this propaganda and belief that we're a functioning, country when we're just a corporation and we're not a country. And that's what you got to understand. And so your elected officials, that's just part of the fake fantasy world that they have people living in.
these prices. You need to regulate these companies. We don't care about capitalism anymore. You need to make sure they are not overcharging us, because even if they raise wages, it's not going to stop these companies from them saying, oh, well, they gave everybody raises, raise our prices even more. No, they need to put caps on goods. They need to put caps.
Again, now people that are feeling the pain start to talk about it, but the ignorance is revealed that this is because they printed money over and over and over in a ridiculous amount to deliberately cause the inflation, to deliberately cause it. It is a tool of control and abuse, and it is done deliberately. It is done not accidentally. And what you're experiencing, sir, at the grocery store is the fact that the dollar has been so weakened from that printing of money that it's not, in fact, that the prices has gone up. It is the fact that the buying power of the dollar has been so weakened. And that's what people don't understand. So it's a much bigger problem than just getting regulatory stuff put on these companies. And do you think they're going to do it after poisoning us for 20 years and putting all kinds of poisons in the food for 20 years and never getting in trouble under this like eugenics depopulation agenda that they're doing? I mean, how could you not call it the science of eugenics? I mean, this is like a social hygiene thing where they're just eliminating people they don't want and don't like, that aren't manageable and controllable.
Caps on services. They need to put a cap on how much people can charge, because right now it's a runaway train, and I don't see how these billion.
It's been that way for many years, a runaway train of printing money and giving it to their buddies, then making us responsible and accountable for the consequences that come. And we've been made to bear that because, we're like the broken housewife being beat. That's literally what has happened to Americans.
Millionaires and these millionaires don't see it. Eventually, the people buying your stuff won't be able to buy it anymore, or won't be able to buy as much of it. So your money's going to go down. Oh, well.
It doesn't matter if their money goes down. These guys print money. You got to understand that they print it and then they give it to their buddies, and it's all a big cult. That's what they do.
Just raise our prices again. Then eventually they just won't be able to buy anything. So I don't understand what is happening anymore, how it makes.
You shall have nothing and be happy. That's what's happening. It's a zero growth policy, and you are part of the problem because you breathe air. You see what I'm saying? This is what they've done to all of us. They've trained us to hate ourselves. They've trained us to think we're a disease and we're the problem. We're the sickness on the earth that needs to be wiped out because we're just ruining the planet. When really the truth is that these companies and corporations and governments of the world are the ones that are ruining the planet. And how dare them transfer that blame onto us and the poor and the weak and the sick. That's the type of people we're dealing with, these psychopaths that just, do such flagrant abuse as to, borrow money and make us have to pay it back.
Sense. I just feel like I'm in bizarro world, but that's my sadness. And I have to go brave the air again because, the air is trying to kill us now because of wildfires in another country. And another.
Again, remember George Orwell's 1984 and the psychology behind fighting a far-off enemy that you can never really know or understand even what's really going on, all to create and train for dependency, for you to listen to the ministry of truth, our dear government, tell you and define to you everything that you need to know.
Another video for that. Y'all have a good day.
Why did Amazon send?
Man, there's just like loads of commercials in here to irritate, but I'm just going to keep going forward here.
Knows that ever since they switched to this new pricing system, I buy far less clothes because I can never find the price of whatever it is I'm looking for.
Yeah, and again, don't think that you not buying clothes is punishing them because they don't care. They don't care at all. It doesn't affect them at all because these are made men. These people that run all of this circus around us, this literal circus is what it is, of hell and satanic pain and misery and torture and suffering. I mean, you go into a store and they have a camera every 5 feet over your head. And it's just this total surveillance, intimidation, bullying type thing. We need to be free again. We need to get rid of all this surveillance and go back to normal life. but I doubt that's ever going to happen. But my goal is to help set people free as much as possible with this information, and with you taking it serious and understanding it's so much bigger than just your family members being used to participate in abuse, because we are being hit as people on all levels, and they're going to create an environment and an atmosphere that's hostile and anti-human, and that's what we're seeing.
And then I have to pull out my app in order to scan it to figure out what the price is, and that's enough for me to just not buy it.
Anybody else's eyes burning? My nose is on fire. I can't breathe. 423 in New Jersey. What's going on? Maybe it's not the Canada wildfires. My fucking whole face is inflamed. This is not normal. I just walked out of the house. I can't see. I keep thinking that someone's having a barbecue. I want to investigate this and see what's going on. Is there a lawsuit? My eyes are.
It bothers me when people get, all hyped up and hysterical and all angry. And the reason it bothers me is because these are the same people we've been warning for like 20 years, almost on a daily basis, whether it was emails, whatever it might be. And yet they're finally starting to realize, like, you're going to be engaged whether you like it or not. And I've been trying to tell you that for the last 20 years. You're going to be engaged. And that engagement is forced upon us. Forced interactions, forced into our lives and upon us. And that is what the government is doing.
They're burning. Who do we sue? I don't understand. The air, Mother Nature. How do we even prove what's going on?
So somebody's fucking with time, and I can prove it. So, yeah, my video last night about it being light at 3:30. Loads of people saying it's always light at 3:30 in the morning in summertime. It's not from what I remember. But anyway, have a look at this. Right, so time is nearly 5 p.m. Now have a look at this. This is my old phone that I got out of storage. Set the time to the right time when I got it out of storage. Linked up to my computer a couple of weeks ago, and now the time's changed. It's going slower. I can't help but wonder, as time sped up, is time speeding up?
It does feel like that for all of us. Can't even get anything done during the day. It seems like the day starts and ends right away, much faster than normal. But, it's not something I can prove or something that I really talk about much. But definitely this gets into, the timeline thing and, the whole multiverse type thing, which I don't really get into on this channel. But I just wanted to say that, like, something is seriously off with the air quality and many other things, is my whole point to sharing this video, and to just comment on some of these people that are starting to wake up, and you realize, like, hey man, like, you're like a baby who is wet behind the ears still and doesn't really realize the horror that we're really in, and how these people that have determined to hurt us do not care about your family. They do not care about your children. They do not care what kind of damage they do to you. And they will do it with not even looking back once. And that's the type of people we're dealing with. They are narcissist psychopaths that have been hijacked in a hive mind, in a collective narcissistic psychology, basically, is what we're seeing when we talk about the hive mind. It's like they all become one narcissist together, like one person together, basically.
Because that time shouldn't be slow. Like, I used to use that phone all the time, never had any issues, never had it change in time. Like, I used to rely on that to catch buses and trains and stuff. And
no, the fundamentals of time and our reality are under attack. That's literally what we're going through. The physical world is being manipulated and is under attack.
I didn't have to reset it every couple of weeks. So, yeah, why is it that old technology is showing? Because I've noticed it on my Wii as well. Seems like old technology, when it comes to the time, is going a bit slower. Dunno. Don't call me a conspiracy theorist. Just something I noticed.
Is it just me, or does something just feel off? Like, I'm in Walmart right now, And
Yeah, you know what feels off is that there is a war being prosecuted against innocent average citizens who can't get it around their heads that they're being engaged with these kind of tactics.
I felt it for a while, but and I've had anxiety for a long time. I don't have anxiety anymore. So like I know the difference. It's like being in Walmart, there's just this dark feeling that I get every time like something bad is coming. Like there's something that they're planning and it involves Walmart. Call me crazy.
Well, you know, over the years, we've talked about how FEMA was working together with the Walmarts and then, trying to find different Walmarts to be converted into, like a prison detention center. We don't know if that is true or not, and if that ever was, followed through with. But, it is the militarization of everything. I mean, when there's a crisis after crisis, you got to have the military on the streets and you got to have the police armed and to the gills. And, they need military gear to police citizens, now because things are so dangerous. See, this is the slippery slope that they pushed us into. And when you go into Walmart, the reason you feel so bad is because you're being bombarded with electromagnetic weapons. That's why you feel so bad. And it doesn't matter if you're in Walmart or in the woods, it doesn't matter because this level of technology watches you and surveils you and knows where you're at all times, knows your brainwaves, knows your inner verbalization, even knows your heartbeat, knows everything about you. You have been mapped. And whether you know it or not, you probably are like, when did I get mapped? Because I never went anywhere to get mapped. Well, they did it electromagnetically. They did it through frequency-based bidirectional systems where, your brain becomes the transmitter and receiver, basically, where they're sending data in a carrier wave carried to the brain and to the nervous system and to program the cells even at a cellular level. That's what they do. It is really quantum sensing technology and all these things that they're using to really see us even behind walls, behind objects. Like, it is a prison camp worldwide. That's what they've turned the world into, these narcissist psychopaths. The best that they had to offer was turning the world into a total prison camp.
I don't know, but every time I'm in this store, I just get this dark feeling, like this impending doom. And right now, we all
Yeah, it's probably from the food on the shelves there, the, genetically modified food that gives you cancer and all the preservatives and ingredients, even the plastic that you see in the background, that's bisphenol A plastic, most likely. And that leaches an estrogen mimicking chemical that is a hormone disruptive chemical banned in other countries. Yet it's just in all our packaging. And the FDA, they had 7 plastics to choose from, and they chose the one that would damage us the most.
kind of feel it in the world because we know the times that we're in. But it just feels like it gets darker in these stores. Like there's something about these stores that
It's a liminal space, it's a dead space, there's no life there, and it's been sucked out of the people that go there. And I swear to never go to Walmart. I never do, no matter what, because it is like you go in there and it's like a black hole of hell. And everybody's acting funky and different and following you around the store, acting all weird, making comments and stuff. And you just want to get in and get out. And they end up capturing you in the store for like hours. And you're like, why isn't there anybody at the checkout line? And why is it that, the self checkout isn't open? Why are you holding me hostage in the store and taking like 40 minutes to ring a couple people out? And why is it that everyone in the store always has to check out at the same time as you, and get this big, huge line of pressure behind you as they, get all close and like look over your shoulder and stand all close to you, breathing down your neck to intimidate you? It's all about breaking the boundaries, is what I'm saying. Breaking your boundaries. You are not a criminal because you have boundaries, but that's what they want to make you into. And this game and competition is over provoking reactions to break those boundaries to get the reactions again and again and again to control you. And that is what they're doing. And they're dumbing us down. They're poisoning us at Walmart. They're poisoning us at all the grocery stores. I mean, and it's full press, like full court press. And that is what they're doing, and we don't even know what's really in the food that's bad, but we just know that obesity is, off the charts in America. And it wasn't like that before they started putting the aspartame and all the chemicals and preservatives and these toxic compounds in the food, the meat, and everything else. Anti-human agenda, eugenics, depopulation, period.
They're planning. I don't know. Is it just me?
And by the way, it's not just depopulation, guys. I wanted to say that it's not just depopulation. It is to use these technologies. So they're always pushing for new ways and platforms in advancing.
And speaking about how lately they've been hearing birds chirping at night. Like, when did that start happening, right?
Yeah, I've had that happen recently, just birds chirping at night. So like it's like all of reality is under attack. Like time, like the normal everyday happenings of life, the repeats that keep happening that are so often that it like defies all of reality to just have something repeat that's rare and having it repeat in a loop so that you never get out of that loop for years. Like that kind of dynamic where they're using time and again, weaponizing the time, weaponizing it, weaponizing our environment, weaponizing just everything they possibly could because that's the way these people think.
And I've been observing something. So I've been sitting out the past couple of nights, and sometimes it's past midnight. I also sit outside in the day. And what I've realized over the past couple of days, because I've been paying more attention, is that the birds in the daytime sing differently than the birds at night. I know it sounds crazy, but when I hear the birds,
I mean, literally, it's like they got control of the ether and the energy behind the physical reality and are able to manipulate and use a lot of synthetics, and it's almost as if they're able to, broadcast individuals that look real, like a hologram in front of you and are not real. And so there's this to contend with as well. The technology's off the charts with what we're doing. We can't necessarily prove, but just in my personal experience, when it comes to this, like clone that's made of you and, the broadcast that they do in broadcasting that brainwave signature onto others around you as a target, this is what creates the hive mind. So when you go, they go. When you speak, they want to speak. And they're speaking and saying the same thing as you. You're synced up. It's not natural. It's not normal. And so you share their thoughts and they share your thoughts. And it's used as a form to torture you. They link you with people that are totally the opposite of you and do it as a form of torture to bombard you with thoughts that are not your own all day long, So, but then we've got, just reality not functioning right and things disappearing and vanishing, things of that nature, like I talked about before, just a lot of weird, strange activity that would contradict the way they've described the way this reality works. Okay. It's all lies. And we're coming to become aware of how this reality really works and how fluid it is. How fluid it is. Even history can change and be rewritten is what we are finding out. So it's way bigger than just the birds chirping at night, even though that's concerning. It's like, I've never heard that my whole life, but all these misplaced like manifestations are occurring because I feel like they've gotten control of the ether or that wave form that exists before, the wave is observed by us and collapses into something that's tangible and so-called physical. But it's like, these people are manipulating reality, manipulating us, manipulating time. And I really believe that there is this total campaign and agenda to have full spectrum dominance. And that is something that you never want to hear.
chirping and singing when I'm sitting out in the daytime, I feel it energetically. their frequency is different than the birds that are chirping at night.
So it could be artificial in a broadcast hologram type thing.
And guys, so I just want to end with the term democide so we can understand what democide really is. And it's also been called by the name of populicide. And it's a term coined by political scientist and Holocaust historian R.J. Rummel to really describe the intentional killing of unarmed and disarmed people by government agents acting under official policy or high command. You mean like national security? It's broader than the legal definition of genocide and can really include a wide range of state-sanctioned and state-perpetrated mass killings. Has it ever been done in world history? Yeah, there's this huge scope of the obvious in our past, in our history, in our recent history, and really, according to Rummel, democide covers a lot of things. It covers genocide, killing based on national, ethnic, racial, or religious identity. This is what communism is all about. It's about identity politics and getting you to fight each other rather than the true power structure that is oppressing you. And there is all kinds of political murders that happen in communist countries and countries that do democide, which is usually communist, socialist, or fascist type countries. It doesn't matter what the flavor is. It's a tyranny. It's a tyranny where unelected people just decide major things about our lives. And we just have to wake up to the fact that we have the authority, each and every one of us, to observe something different, is what I'm trying to say, and trying to give you the vision and empower you to understand just how powerful you are. But the political murder, like of opponents and dissidents that are labeled and profiled and under all this technology, it's like, their threat assessments can't be wrong ever. And they're all done by AI, giving power over to a machine to decide your fate and whether you live or die, whether you're expendable or not, whether you're essential or not. Haven't they already told you? You might not be essential. You might have to leave your job. You might have to be on lockdown for 2 years because it's jail training. It's dog training. We're in a prison. This is a militarized world in which the military-industrial complex is turning all the world into a police state, high-tech surveillance grid, and basically making a video game out of everyday life for us. So it's easy to be called a dissident because anyone that contradicts the narrative of the propaganda that the state puts out, which thinks of themselves as God, ends up, labeling and profiling. Anyone who says anything to the contrary becomes an enemy of the state. And that's what's happened in world history. They sensationalize common and normal and average everyday independence and autonomy and punish and criminalize that autonomy, even to the level of our thoughts, guys. So, and this is what we're dealing with and facing because of the technology. It's down to the cellular level that they're hijacking humanity. And we've been living under this mind control for many, many years and not even realizing it because it's not really detectable unless you have the Holy Spirit or a connection with God to be able to see it even. It's impossible to see and combat, I believe, without the Holy Spirit. At least that has been my experience, depending on God, to make that transfer and get out of yourself when you're brought to the end of yourself. Again and again and again and again, what do you do? But make that transfer to something higher. And that is what I've done in my walk with God. I'm just saying to rely more on the Spirit of God. And so I'm not relying on all the thoughts that are passing through my mind. Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm not identifying with it. And that is freedom, even when they're attacking me all day. So much so that you can't get anything done because you're just in that civil war within, in your mind. And, it's like 2 steps forward, 2 steps back, because you're being competed against and contended against and commented on every little thing you do. So, these people are murderous devils. That's what I would call the people that are enjoying and rejoicing at the torture and the torment and the destruction, where they just bet on you and live stream your life for everybody to just gamble on you whether you're going to survive or not. It is literally the Hunger Games, guys. Literally. So, I'm just saying this. It is always about creating an enemy that becomes a threat to the state so they can justify a police state and cracking down and taking your rights. And we don't just mean rights, like traditional rights like you hear. We mean, your basic human decency rights. You know what I mean? And just being a human. And we're surrounded by these anti-human type entities that have really turned the world into an anti-human place where it's not fit for humans anymore because of the destruction and breakdown and collapse. And I want you to know it's also being blamed on you, what they do, because that's what psychopaths do. They transfer the blame on you. So when there's all these storms and earthquakes and volcanoes going off, and it could be a cycle, it could be directed energy weapons, we don't know. But the fact is that it causes you to look to something higher, and the government wants to be that daddy daycare savior, and hero and God to you, okay? And they get to decide by, breadcrumbing you and telling you it's for the greater good. That's why you're suffering right now. Not because of what they did deliberately to break down and collapse and control your life, but it's just an accident, right? And that's why these accidents just keep happening again and again and again. So there's political murder that happens in a state like this. And we're seeing all the signs and the symptoms of this type of dictatorship and tyranny operating in America. It goes after dissidents, the state. So there's mass murder in states like this, in wars and civil conflicts, and under these de facto governments that just pretend to represent the people when they're getting paid to carry out the interests of those that pay them. And it is all about radicalizing society to have the excuse to militarize society. That's their solution. And that is what they're doing. And so there's all these criminal omissions, such as deliberate famines, like at Holland, I think it was Holodomor, or, neglect leading to mass death and starvation. Like in America, they're shutting down farms. They SWAT team farms. If you are a private farmer, just ask the farmers what they have to go through because they're trying to terminate our ability to create our own food and make us depend on them. Why? Because there's a bigger agenda. And it's anti-human. It's transhuman. They want to merge you with a machine. And they've already done it. Our body's been hooked to the cloud for a long, long time, guys, and on a network. And this is just simply really, I guess you could call it net-centric warfare, okay? And that's what it's basically called. Your body, your nervous system, your brainwave signature, your heartbeat, your DNA, all of it is on a network, guys. And they do it by waves, and they do it by frequency-based platforms of technology, wireless. And they just lie a lot of the times and misdirect and say, these are just communication systems, new wireless communication systems. As they deploy it all around us and locked us in our home for 2 years just to deploy even a further element to this frequency range in which they're operating, which makes us sick. It produces nothing but radiation. Do you want to be radiated? Why don't you just take a radiation meter and do me a favor and go up to your smart meter and hold it up to your smart meter on the side of your house that became digital and used to be analog. Go hold it up to the smart meter and see how much the needle jumps to the red on your EMF radiation meter. And so we're being poisoned even with the basic technologies in the agenda of having a smart home where all your appliances are on a network as well, the Internet of Things. But they've gone way farther than the Internet of Things, guys. It is total surveillance, total mind control. And in these kind of climates, it's always pushed to have a breakdown. They push the civilians into a breakdown. It's deliberate, it's intentional, and it's to rule by a tyranny. And that's what tyrannies are. They let the worst of the worst rule over you. Do you understand? And they set that up over you. So the yes men, the people that are cowards and just the rats, informants, and snitches and bootlickers, okay? And a bootlicker is somebody that just, doesn't question authority or the narrative at all. And just, when you contradict that, they think of you as a threat and then go tell the police, like my family. You know what I mean? It's like, I can't tell you how many times I had to tell my family, like, I'm not against the police. I'm not against the government. Like, just because I'm talking about these things and don't agree with being tortured or some of the laws that have been passed that are causing great harm and damage to all of us. But you know what I mean? But they try to turn you into the enemy just for exposing it and sensationalize you and slander you and endanger you to the local sheriff's office. That's what they do. That's what family does. That's what people in our past did to us, because it was a coordinated, organized breakdown game that was being played with our lives. So there's, deliberate famines that are caused. I mean, I've talked about how, like in Russia or even in China, just how, there was so much starvation. So if you don't think that you can be starved to death, and you don't think that that could happen in America, like, think again, because it's been done in world history and is a tool of these controllers, and they just keep using the same tricks. And yet years and years and years go by and we never learn. And that is the problem, the insanity of repeating the same thing over and over, expecting different results. And so we need to wake up to the fact that these crises, time and again, are not natural. There's too many of them. And before one is over, they start a next one. And before that one is over, they start the next one. And there never gets to be closure on these ongoing open-ended problems that really dehumanize you every day, seeing it. And really, it is nothing but mind control propaganda and all the subliminals in the music and the embedded nature of, very low frequency, subliminal messages within the frames of a movie. I mean, they hit us on all levels. I mean, the music is toxic frequency-wise to you, okay? They do it to make you sick. They do it to make you, walk to a different beat, basically, other than the beat of the Holy Spirit, the music that's coming out of heaven. They want to corrupt that. They don't want you singing that song, of love and peace and truth. They just want you, terrified, running around like a coward, burying your head in the sand. And so many people tell me, what can I do about this? Well, you can stop just coming into agreement with poisoning yourself at the grocery store. How about start there? And also, so there's all this, in these kind of situations with democide happening and governments that want to do this kind of stuff, there's forced labor, concentration camps, and inhumane living conditions that cause death, okay? And what do you think they're doing right now to you? Do you think that these people love you and want to keep you safe as they take actions? You see, you're divided because of the propaganda, because the duality they play, the game of duality, the game of intermittent reinforcement, the game of saying it's this way today and it's totally the polar opposite tomorrow, but it can't be both, because they contradict one another. And this is what I mean about the mental gyrations of what they do to you every day in this type of yes, no, mine, yours, up, down, back, forth dynamic. And it is designed to dislodge you from your own thinking. Meanwhile, they're glad handing each other, patting each other on the back and saying what a great job they did and that they're heroes and saviors and so grateful. And we need more money and power, and we need more surveillance. We need more tools and toys. That is what they do it for, to justify the rolling out of a police state, under emergency orders in a crisis as the excuse to just operate domestically like this and then just go after people based on customized, selectable targeting. And that is what they do. And that makes it hard to stop because you could be targeted, but other people around you might not be. And usually they are and used against you. But you know what I'm saying? They might not be. You know what I mean? So when you start complaining about red and white cars following you, people damaging your property all the time and breaking in your house and doing all these things to you, it's going to look crazy to the people that they're not experiencing that warfare and pressure. So they do it selectively. They do it so that they can get away with it in plain sight and use plausible deniability as the way to continue to keep the abuse going, because it's all tactics done, and it is done by the frequency and the rate. So they don't even have to do outward abuse to you. It's just the frequency and the rate at which the pattern and the occurrence keeps happening. They intercept. You keep seeing the same person on all sides of the town. And even when you try to get away and leave your phone and do all these things, there that person is again. And if you say something about it, it can be denied. I'm just walking my dog. I'm just checking the mail. It's kind of funny how we keep coming out to the mailbox at the same time. It's like I open my door, you open your door. And there's this reality we start to discover that we're all like synced up in this hive mind, sharing the same thoughts, I guess. Because how else could people that are your neighbors just walk out at the same time as you all the time in a pattern that just repeats for years and is a loop, it seems. Like a time loop and like an experience that only keeps repeating itself over and over and over and is only negative, only hostile, only bad. And we're surely not bringing this on ourselves. And I don't believe that nonsense, that new age nonsense, that, we're just, because our thinking, we're so negative, we're just opening ourselves up to this. I just don't believe that, because it is a lot deeper than that and deeper than just positive mental attitude. We're talking about technology that changes your mood, your behavior, your thinking, your memory, your dreams. I mean, it is on every level that they are trying to use torture to shape us. And I detect it all the time. I mean, I've detected it pretty much my whole life. I just didn't know what to call it, but I was always the sacrifice. I was that blonde-haired, blue-eyed little kid that, Aleister Crowley talks about, oh yeah, we just need a blonde-haired, blue-eyed, innocent little boy, and we just need to torture them and, do whatever. That's what they do. That's what he calls for, in some of his books, on ritual magic and sex magic. And you wouldn't believe it, guys, but this is what these people do in the darkness. And they have no shame. They're not like us. They don't feel guilty or ashamed or saddened or guilty when they're hurting a child. Do you understand what I'm saying? They just don't feel like we would feel because they have a whole different makeup about them. And there is nobody home. They are just drones. They are just NPCs. There's nobody home. There's no identity in them. You see what I'm saying? So there's no real identity. It's all an act and a performance, and they're just bouncing from, in their insecurity from one role to the next that makes them a hero and makes them a savior and makes them a victim. And they only live to support that kind of belief. And so all their behavior matches and is there to support those beliefs. So it's not hard to see these people operating in your life. And there are so many targeted killings in countries like this to really meet execution quotas. Believe it or not, they've got execution quotas. Or just eliminate specific groups that might rise up and become a threat. Well, all your religious institutions are infiltrated by the CIA. I mean, that's just the bottom line. And, the CIA is very heavily involved in, paranormal type things. And, they're heavily involved in, just a lot of the occult. And they use the satanic ritual abuse torture that these families do to each other. And they use it to torture innocent people. The things that they've taken out of Satanism are just used by the intelligence services to terrorize you and to basically, sear a conscience and how to get good and demon possessed by these entities, by this bloodletting and all the things that they do to call these entities into themselves. And so there's all these targeted killings because evil becomes good and good becomes evil, and your family starts to think that they're doing God a service even by executing you and killing you and setting you up and trying to get you to be put in jail, institutions, or death. And that is the goal of the state working with your family in these programs. And, it's not just the state. We know that this is NGOs, this is military contractors, this is Ivy League school universities and professors. This is a scientific dictatorship worldwide in which they customize abuse. And there's like teams of psychologists that are like, yeah, now we know exactly what John's weaknesses are. Let's deploy, it's like, let's deploy, the honey pot to really, really get him. And we'll just drug him, and then start taking incriminating pictures with him nude. Let's get him nude and take a bunch of pictures after we drug his water. You know what I mean? And this stuff has all been done to me, man. And literally most of these people, they just hide in these other cults like the Jehovah's Witness and like the Mormons and all these other things. And I'm not, coming down on people. I'm just saying, dude, like that has been my experience, that a lot of these cults and groups are very organized and just front groups for something else. And that's the bottom line. It's just the bottom line. So nothing is as it appears or seems, and there's forced labor, concentration camps, targeted killing, and inhumane living conditions, and it's all designed to put the pressure on you, to bleed you out, to feed on that downfall, and give these vampires the energy required for them to come alive. Do you see what I'm saying? So we got to cut it off. And we got to take back our power and our energy from these vampire blood-sucking demons that are in our family and friends. And just the mind control itself is like demonic itself. And they can use energy weapons to simulate spiritual activity. Do you understand the danger of that? That, you think you're hearing from God, but it might not be his voice. That's the level of this technology and battle that we've been in. What a cruel thing to do to somebody. Where sometimes the only house on the block left is, God, and you're, simulating the voice of God to somebody. You know what I mean? And it's all designed to drive you and push you and psychically push you to do some action and response that is wrong. And that's why they put the pressure on you so you don't think and just panic and do what they want. It's not limited to the elimination of entire cultural groups, but can target any group deemed politically or socially undesirable. And that's what they do. They just keep changing the definition of what it means to be a terrorist. And then the Christian is the religious extremist terrorist. Do you see what I'm saying? They just take and start with one group, and then they expand the definition and expand who's guilty. And that's what they do in world history. Okay, and we're seeing this in America. And there's just so much relationship I'm talking about here to genocide that democide is related to, but genocide is a subset of democide. And while genocide focuses on killing based on group identity, democide can also include killings for political reasons, suppression of dissent, or other other non-ethnic motives, you see. So it's worse because they expand, the labeling and profiling of different various groups and people. And then they begin to infiltrate after they surveil, and then they start doing the game. And that game is a breakdown game. That game is death by 1,000 cuts. That game is breaking your car. That game is keeping you from a job. That game is hiding you, where you're like hidden away and are isolated to the point where you can't take one more day of isolation, but you have to because there's no choice. So you just decide to get beyond it in your mind and your heart. But any normal human being going through this level of isolation would have brain damage. That's the level of isolation, okay? And how they keep people and resources and and opportunities away from the target, even when the target's desperately trying to put something in place, working harder than you ever have. And that also is designed to wear you out in the zero-sum win game that they're playing with you, because you never profit or benefit, and all your energy and money and time goes off in left field to cover the damage these people are doing to you. And you have to just keep, you only have enough just to cover the damage and be at zero again. And this game is being played. So Democide surpasses war as the leading cause of non-natural death in the 20th century, guys. I mean, killing hundreds of millions of people. And the examples, I've given them before, but they include the Soviet Union, 62 million killed, gulags, famines, purges, guys. What do you think they're doing to us with the gang stalking, the community-based policing tactics of abuse and control? How about communist China, 35 million killed, the Great Leap Forward? It was, you know what the Great Leap Forward was, guys? What a wonderful thing it was. Famine, political purges. That's what it was. So they always, and it's just like the Patriot Act. It's the most anti-patriotic bill and law you could ever see. But this is the way they roll, the mind control. It's patriotic to have something anti-patriotic and get the American people behind believing that it's patriotic because the name. Do you see what I'm saying? The dumbing down and the inability we have to think because of these tactics being done to all of us. And I'm not excluded from that, man. I'm just saying that it's severe. And, in Nazi Germany, 21 million killed, Holocaust, forced labor, mass executions, Japanese militarists, 6 million killed, colonial massacres, forced labor, and then in Cambodia, we remember like 1.5 to 2 million were killed. Okay. So democide versus war deaths, Rummel's data suggests that the 20th century democide killed 6 times more people than all combat deaths combined. So don't tell me that I shouldn't be concerned, okay? Don't tell me that, I'm just a conspiracy theorist and I'm just paranoid and delusional and schizophrenic and need medication. Don't tell me that. You know what I mean? But that's what you're going to probably do. But don't, it doesn't do anything to me when you tell me that and try to insult my intelligence. And the Holy Spirit detects all the lies and uncovers all the will of those that hate me and discovers their schemes and their plots and their plans before they can even deploy them on you. So we have such a grace and are blessed beyond measure by the hand of God, and so are you. And we've gotten through so much stuff that would kill most people. And I'm proud of you guys. I'm thankful for each and every one of you for staying here, checking out the videos, and it really means a lot to me. I love the conversation, love the comments, and I'm always really encouraged to see some new, a new subscriber just come in and realize like what kind of battle we're really facing and really in, and that we are warriors, and we have to suit up and show up and be there every day in order to make this stand for what we value and love in life. And that's relationship. That's God. That's the truth, and we're never letting it go no matter how much they torture us. We're never letting it go because it's part of the fabric of our DNA. It's part of the makeup of who we are. And that's why they couldn't steal the authenticity, because it's just who we are and they can't imitate it and be us. You understand? But that's what they want. And they steal our identity in many different ways, especially technologically with these clones that they can create of you. But that's a whole other topic. So this all includes both direct killings and indirect deaths from state policies like famine and forced labor, guys. You don't think that could happen here? It is happening here. It is like a Bolshevik revolution happening, or a colored revolution, where all these different groups are created by the government that are grassroots, to make it appear that there's this clash of civilizations happening, but they're just funded professional protesters that are paid by these people that are poisoning all of us. You know what I mean? And you got to understand, there is no grassroots movement. And even the churches in America have been infiltrated so hardcore by the government that they have merged as one through the faith-based initiative and many other laws that have been passed. So the churches today, they are state-run churches controlled by the federal government. What do you think they're going to tell you? Are they going to tell you about Jesus, or are they going to tell you to get your jabby jab that Jesus wants you to do that? Okay, so I just wanted to say these key points. The scope about this, it's broader than genocide and includes political, ethnic, and other targeted killings. I want you to bring that home to your heart. And the causes are government policy, like we see in America, political repression, war-related massacres, neglect, and criminal omissions, like we are saturated with every single day in America. And the impact is massive human loss, and that's what history shows. Even though history's been altered and changed and hidden by these same people, it's often underreported or even denied, but the significance is a critical concept in understanding mass violence and state power abuse. In short, Democide is a framework for analyzing and quantifying state-driven mass killings. We're just here to keep you safe and save lives. State-driven mass killings. We're just here to keep you safe and save lives. We're not abusers. We're your heroes and your saviors. We're not abusers. We're not doing this to you. And while they do it to you, they gaslight you and say that. While they're abusing you and collapsing everything and destroying everything, they just tell you, we're not doing that. That's not what we're doing. You're not seeing clearly enough. You know what I mean? This is actually the government saving you. And don't you want to stop terrorists? You know what I mean? How could you not want to stop terrorists? You know what I mean? Or protect children. So everything that they do in their manipulation of us is to pigeonhole us and take the moral high ground prior to them doing the abuse to us. And that way, when we complain about it, they can just deflect and say these stupid things to us and that are just totally out there. So I just want to say I love you guys. Thanks for watching. Peace out.